Chapter 44-25. Seeing the golden-winged great Peng bird speak directly like Peng Jun, Fengwu also secretly felt respect for it. Although the strength of the golden-winged rock was there and there was no need to hide it, this was also related to the nature of the golden-winged rock. In fact, when Xiao Hua learned that the little white dragon had been suppressed by Qingyu, he had discussed this matter with Fengwu and the other clones. All of them felt that this matter might not necessarily have anything to do with the 6 great sages of the Great Sage Hall. After all, Xiao Hua's strength was only at the 5th or 6th level of origin energy. He was not even comparable to Qingyu. So how could he possibly fall into the eyes of the great sages of the demon race? However, the appearance of the golden-winged great Peng, the flying feather-void beast, and the 5-colored sea god Shelin by Qingyu was out of Xiao Hua and Fengwu's expectations. However, from the mouths of the 3 great saints, they heard something fishy and knew that they might have been deceived by the Monster King. However, at that time, all the explanations and speculations would be useless. Only by fighting and determining the victor would they have the right to speak. Therefore, when victory was within their grasp, whether it was Xiao Hua or Fengwu, they more or less had compassion in their hearts and did not truly beat the 3 great saints to death. Especially later, when Xiao Hua revealed a portion of his strength, the 3 great saints saw Xiao Hua's sincerity. Although the 3 great saints didn't say anything, when they fought, they still left some leeway. Because it's such a supreme realm, who would really risk their lives if there wasn't a great enmity between them? Not to mention that everyone had already realized that something was wrong. At that time, the fight was more about face. Because of this, when Xiao Hua was sucked into the great rainbow shell realm by Bai Xian, Fengwu pulled the 3 great sages out of this matter. She stopped them and began to talk about romance. The 3 great sages naturally knew what Fengwu was thinking. This was also the reason why the golden-winged great rock had invited Fengwu after part of the truth had been revealed. Because he already knew that Fengwu was the great sage of the demon race. Even though Fengwu had a very close relationship with Xiao Hua, Fengwu accepted the invitation with ease because he knew very well that even the 3 great saints didn't have the strength to make things difficult for him. The 3 great saints definitely wouldn't make things difficult for him because of Qingyu. However, after seeing the rare humble attitude of the golden-winged great rock and what he said just now, Fengwu suddenly understood that Qingyu's matter might be very small and not worth the attention of the great sage of the Great Sage Temple. But this matter had caused a lot of trouble, and the power behind it had a lot to plan. This plan had originally been hidden under the ice river, but Qingyu's matter had exposed it all at once. Furthermore, the power of the Great Sage Hall's 6 great sages was balanced. Suddenly, the golden-winged great Peng broke through the bottleneck and became a great saint himself. In an instant, the balance between the entire Great Sage Temple and the 1,000 Demons' sacred realm was broken. In particular, his strength had suppressed the ambitious mystic armored Pentaceratops. If the 1,000 Demons' sacred realm wanted to reach a new equilibrium, it would be impossible without some turbulence. Thinking of this, Fengwu smiled and said to the golden-winged great Peng, "Sage Peng, I understand what you mean. However, I've already said that I won't interfere in any of the Great Sage Temple's affairs, and I won't allow any power to interfere in the 1,000 Demons' sacred realm. Therefore, I'm afraid your hopes will be dashed." The golden-winged great Peng sneered. When the mystic armored Pentaceratops became a great saint, I happened to pass by. The mystic armored Pentaceratops was afraid that I would disturb his celestial worship, so he swore many things in front of me and almost swore a demon oath. With my character, how could I possibly stop the birth of a great saint of the demon race? I didn't pay any attention to him and even stood guard for him. But what happened in the end? He didn't fulfill a single word of his and even frequently caused trouble for me. How could he still be the mystic armored Pentaceratops of that day? Moreover, if you don't want to establish your power in the 1,000 Demons' sacred realm, why did that human Mahayana realm take Qingyu, heaven-obscuring ridge, and ancient Bell Mountain for himself? Why would a human Mahayana realm cultivator want territory in the 1,000 Demons' sacred realm? Fengwu waved a hand with a faint smile and said, "There's a saying in the human race that distance tests a horse's strength, and time reveals a person's heart. You can just wait and see what I think in the future, Sage Peng. I won't agree to what you just said, Sage Peng. I won't interfere in the karma of the Great Sage Temple." Hee. The golden-winged great Peng chuckled coldly. "Seeing as you've already become a great saint, you've already been tainted by the karma of the Great Sage Temple. Just like today, I had no relationship with that human Mahayana realm cultivator, but I was still dragged into this mess." To be honest, if it weren't for the fact that that human Mahayana realm cultivator had a good character, Sage and I, Sage Bay, and I would have been severely injured even if we didn't lose a grade. This is also why I wanted to befriend that human Mahayana realm cultivator. A thought seemed to have occurred to the golden-winged great Pung at this point, and he stiffened his neck as he said, "This isn't me admitting defeat. If he wants to fight me, then you can help me accept it." Haha. Feng Wu laughed heartily as he flapped his wings, and said, "Sage Pung, you really are an interesting demon. Compared to the craftiness of Sage Ni and Sage Bei, I think Daoist Xiao would be more willing to befriend you." "How crafty can Sage Bei be?" The golden-winged great Pung chuckled coldly. "He doesn't even have a brain." Feng Wu could tell from Bai Qing's confusion. On top of that, Sage Ni is inferior to the Pentaceratops. Feng Wu naturally couldn't take the golden-winged great Peng's words at face value, but he still said, "That's true. Among our demon race, it seems that the dragon race is the most crafty. From the ordinary dragon race to the dragon kings of the 4 seas, then to the 9 elders of the dragon palace. In the future, if anyone dares to call foxes cunning in front of me, I'll break their nose. In the face of dragons, foxes are like 3-year-old toddlers." Haha, that's right. Although Feng Wu didn't mention the Pentaceratops, the golden-winged great Pung felt the same way. He laughed heartily and flapped his wings, causing a gust of wind to blow within 100 miles. He looked at Feng Wu with a much friendlier expression. After the golden-winged great Pung finished laughing, Feng Wu said seriously, "Sage Pung, if we want to find the so-called mastermind, we might as well think about it and start from the nearest place." "What do you mean, Sage Pung?" The golden-winged great Pung was straightforward. At this moment, he almost treated Feng Wu as an old friend and asked curiously. Feng Wu thought for a moment and asked, "Sage Pung, I have a question for you. Please speak, Sage Pung." The golden-winged great Pung nodded and replied, "In the words of the human race, I'll tell you everything I know. I want to know why Sage Pung, Sage Ni, and Sage Bei came to Bai Qingyu. I remember that Sage Pung didn't come because of Peng Jun's message, right? Since it wasn't arranged in advance, how did Sage Pung get here in time?" Feng Wu's phoenix eyes flashed as she asked the golden-winged great Pung. Hee, so that's the problem." The golden-winged great Pung laughed. "When I first came to Bai Qingyu, I also thought about it. However, it seems that coming to Bai Qingyu has nothing to do with the Pentaceratops. I'm afraid it's Sage Ni's little scheme." "Oh? What do you mean?" Feng Wu raised her eyebrows and asked. Then the rock sage explained everything in detail. Only then did Feng Wu understand. It turned out that Feng Wu had become a great saint in the South Sea Dragon Palace's great array and had triggered a change in the starry sky of the Thousand Demons' sacred realm. The golden-winged rock and the other great saints of the demon race all flew out of their cultivation grounds and headed towards the great sage temple. They were all prepared to welcome the new great saint there. However, because Heavenly Phoenix had destroyed the star bridge leading to the great sage hall, Feng Wu didn't go. Therefore, the 6 great sages waited in vain at the great sage hall. The 6 great sages didn't gather often, so they took this opportunity to stay in the great sage hall for a while. During this time, the golden-winged great Pung received a message from Tsongyue Tian saying that there were changes in the 3 demon territories in the far north. After reading the message, the golden-winged great Pung discussed with the other 5 great sages and invited the scarlet flame vermilion bird to the far north to take a look. At the same time, the flying feather void beast also received a message. He invited the 5-colored sea god shell and the golden-winged great Pung to come to Bai Qingyu, saying that there would be a good show to watch. The golden-winged great Pung was unwilling to come to Bai Qingyu, but the flying feather void beast insisted on inviting him. Therefore, the golden-winged great Pung followed the flying feather void beast and the 5-colored sea god shell to Bai Qingyu. The matter of going to the far north was left to the other 3 great sages. After the golden-winged great Pung finished speaking, Feng Wu asked curiously, "So, it wasn't Taoist Zhao's 200,000 Fortune Gates disciples that lured Sage Pung here?" "Hee, of course not." The golden-winged great Pung laughed. "This Holy One was shocked when we arrived here. Since when did so many high-level humans enter the Thousand Demons' sacred land? At that time, this Holy One thought that Sage and I had received the news in advance. There should be a transmission passage from the Great Holy Hall to Bai Qingyu, right?" Feng Wu asked again. "Otherwise, Sage Pung and the others wouldn't have arrived in such a timely manner." The golden-winged great Pung didn't hide anything and nodded. There is a demonic formation in the Great Holy Hall that can draw on the power of the moon and stars to reach most places in the Thousand Demons' sacred land. We came here with the help of the demonic formation. However, the demonic beasts can only go from the Great Holy Hall to other places, and not from other places. The golden-winged Great Pung suddenly thought of something and flapped his wings. This Holy One forgot. Sage Phoenix has never entered the Great Holy Hall, and the Star Bridge can sense the star runes on Sage Phoenix's body. Sage Phoenix can rely on this connection to summon the Star Bridge in the Great Holy Hall. Since Sage Phoenix is a 7 stars great sage, the Rainbow Bridge also has the power of 7 stars. Not to mention this Holy One, Sage Ni, and Sage Bay can borrow Sage Phoenix's light. Even Sage Dragon, Sage Spider, and Sage Sparrow can be guided to the Great Holy Hall. P.S. Sagittarius Constellations, Nostalgia, Moonlight Birthday Update. I hope everyone has a happy time. Chapter 44-26. So that's how it is. Feng Wu smiled. No wonder I can sense the location of the Great Holy Temple no matter where I am in the Thousand Demons' sacred realm. Especially when I was sparring with Sage Pung, I felt a kind of suction force. So that's how it is. The golden-winged roc laughed when he heard Feng Wu call their previous fight a spar. He said, earlier, I resented Saint Ni for scheming against me. However, after thinking about how I benefited from this disaster, I can't be bothered to argue with him anymore. That's right. Feng Wu said earnestly. There's a saying in the human race that unity is a fortress. If the 7 sages of the Great Holy Temple can't work together, how can we? At this point, Feng Wu was at a loss for words. Yes, what can we do? Resist the invasion of the human race? Resist the enemy? However, Feng Wu's eyes turned, and she hurriedly covered it up. How can we resist the Dragon Island's instigation? How can we avoid a disaster? What Sage Feng said is true. The Golden Roc shouted. The dragon race is clearly a branch of the demon race, but they want to call themselves the dragon race and split themselves off. They even created a dragon island to compete with the Great Holy Temple. There are 4 dragon palaces in the 4 seas, and they are even more powerful than the Thousand Demons' sacred realm. Damn it, the more I look at them, the more I dislike them. Also, this Pentaceratops on the surface seems to be at odds with the dragon island, but who knows how many tricks they have up their sleeves. Cough cough. Feng Wu coughed twice, looked back, and changed the topic. I wonder when Sage Ni and Sage Bay will arrive? Them? Humph. The Golden Roc said with disdain. They won't arrive until nightfall. Oh right, Sage Feng, what method did that Mahayana human use? Even the old ancestor had to admit defeat? Also, what are those countless lights? It seems like even Sage Bay was affected? Sage Bay kept saying that his bloodline was taken away. How can that be true? Feng Shang pondered for a moment and said in a low voice, this seems to be one of Spiritual Master Zhao's divine abilities. It is extremely powerful and should be related to bloodline. Taoist Master Zhao is very secretive about this kind of divine ability, and even I don't know much about it. However, if nothing unexpected happens, the 5-colored sea god shell is right. The sea god's bloodline of the Shell clan should have been taken away. Ah, is that true? The Golden Roc was stunned to hear this. Is this human Grand Ascension stage being really that powerful? What do you think, Sage Pung? Feng Wu asked with a smile. If that wasn't the case, how could this sage be friends with him? Didn't I say so earlier? Taoist Zhao has helped me a lot in becoming a great sage. Although I don't know how the old ancestor helped Sage Pung become a great sage, this sage feels that Taoist Zhao's help to this sage is definitely no less than the old ancestor's help to you. No wonder. The golden-winged great Pung bird nodded in response. In that case, I can forgive you for helping that Grand Ascension stage human. Feng Wu naturally didn't care about the golden-winged great Pung bird's forgiveness, but he still smiled. Since Sage Pung knows about this sage's difficulties, then it's easy to talk about it. If this sage can become friends with Taoist Zhao, then it'll be good for my 1,000-beast sacred realm. Didn't you see? Although the old ancestor has been defeated and her natal shell has been destroyed, she still doesn't dare to do anything to Taoist Zhao. Sigh, as a junior, I don't care so much about the old ancestor's matters. It's just a pity that the 5-colored sea god shell was originally ranked 4th, but now he's ranked last among the 7 great sages. Even if he's ranked last among the 7 great sages, he's still a great sage. It's better than losing his life. Feng Wu replied indifferently. Without the sea god's bloodline, Sage Peng Bird's chances of shattering the void have become even slimmer. The golden-winged great Peng Bird sighed. Feng Wu didn't think much of it. No one said that becoming a great sage means that one will definitely be able to shatter the void. Among the 7 great sages, perhaps only Sage Peng Bird can shatter the void. Hee hee. The golden-winged great Peng Bird was rather pleased by Feng Wu's flattery. He laughed a few times and said, "You're right, Sage Peng Bird. Everyone sweeps the snow in front of their own door. Don't worry about the frost on the roof of their house." "Yes, yes." Feng Wu nodded. "We've already reached this level, so it's better not to think too much about scheming and scheming. Instead, we should think about how to reach the highest level. Oh right, this sage doesn't know much about the 1,000-beast sacred realm. Can Sage Peng Bird explain more about it?" Well said, well said. The golden-winged great Peng Bird was in a good mood. Before the 5-colored sea god shell and the flying feather void beast flew over, he told Feng Wu a little about the 1,000-beast sacred realm. When the stars shone, the 5-colored sea god shell and the flying feather void beast did indeed arrive. The 2 great sages were very tactful. They didn't ask who the victor was. When the golden-winged great Peng Bird told them about how Feng Wu had used the star bridge to enter the great sage palace, the 2 great sages had no objections. Thus, Feng Wu raised her head and let out a phoenix cry. Her huge demonic body spread out. Then, on her back, the star patterns of the Big Dipper rotated. 7 pillars of stars fell from the Big Dipper in the starry sky. Then, the star patterns turned into a spinning shadow and rushed out. The moment the star patterns turned into a star shadow, Feng Wu sensed the location of the great sage palace. Without thinking too much, Feng Wu spread her wings. At the same time, her demonic body soared into the sky. The 7 star shadows also soared high into the sky. After the shadow spun a few times like a stream of light, boom! A rainbow bridge came through the sky. It was actually the same as the one Feng Wu saw in the Southern Sea Dragon Palace. Sage Peng Bird is indeed a 7-star great sage. Seeing that the arched rainbow bridge turned into 7 colors, the golden-winged great Peng Bird clapped his hands and shouted, "Even the star bridge is 7 colors. Come, 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 Saint and I, Saint Shell, let's each take a color." As he spoke, the golden-winged great Peng Bird landed on the yellow star bridge without waiting for Feng Wu's agreement. The flying feather void beast and the 5-colored sea god seashell looked at each other with understanding in their eyes. The 2 saints didn't say anything and each took a color. When the 3 saints landed on the bridge naturally didn't move. However, when Feng Wu's phoenix claw landed on the bridge, the space within a radius of 10,000 miles began to tremble. Then, thousands of light shadows appeared in the surroundings. These light shadows connected with the rainbow bridge's colors. Countless illusory stars were born in the light shadows, and on the other side of the bridge, an incomparably majestic palace appeared. This palace was naturally the Great Sage Palace. As soon as the Great Sage Palace appeared, it rapidly enlarged and gradually became clearer. In a trance, Feng Wu discovered that the space around him had unknowingly changed. The rainbow bridge under his feet had disappeared at some point in time. Not only was the starry sky no longer high up in the sky, but it was below his feet. Layers of nebulae flowed above his head like a river. The golden-winged great Peng Bird, the flying feather void beast, and the 5-colored sea god shell that were standing near him also disappeared. Strange. Feng Wu glanced around and found so many strange things. He couldn't help but mutter in his heart. But the moment his eyes moved, the originally tall Great Sage Palace seemed to have been hit by a pen. The entire palace was completely distorted, turning into an enormous vortex and condensing into an extremely small dot of light. When Feng Wu looked at the dot of light again, it suddenly shrank and turned into a pitch-black dot that was close to nothingness. Hiss! Feng Wu sucked in a breath of cold air. His eyes also shrank into dots of light. He seemed to have sensed something. Feng Wu's heart skipped a beat. A powerful and unparalleled suction force appeared in the small dot and rushed out in a spiral shape. Chapter 44-27. Every time Feng Wu got closer to the Stargate, the accumulation of tens of thousands of years under the South Sea Dragon Palace, or even hundreds of thousands of years, melted bit by bit. Just like Xiao Hua's epiphany between life and death, It turned into starlight and fell into his consciousness. At the same time, the mysteries of the starry sky derived from the Great Sage Hall were also engraved in his star marks and consciousness. Fengwu didn't know if time had any meaning here. Perhaps it was in the blink of an eye, or tens of thousands of years. He didn't feel anything at all. He only knew that everything was changing, but he didn't know what exactly had changed until his figure fell into the stargate. Boom! Fengwu's consciousness was completely blank again. Just like how the Great Sage Hall was annihilated and reborn, all his consciousness gathered at one point and then reborn again. This cycle repeated a total of 7 times before Fengwu saw that he was in a vast starry sky again. The starry sky was everywhere, up, down, left and right. In the center of the starry sky, there were 6 stars that stood out. However, among the 6 stars, 3 of them were shining brightly, while the other 3 were dim and lightless. "This is the Great Sage Hall?" A proud voice came out of Fengwu's mouth. It was the same voice as Fengwu's, but the tone was completely different. Wasn't this the consciousness of the Heavenly Phoenix? The corner of the Heavenly Phoenix's mouth twitched, because he had already seen the figures of the golden-winged great roc, the flying feather-void beast, and the 5-colored sea god shell within the 3 starlights. "Haha, Phoenix Sage." The golden-winged great roc's voice came from one of the starlights, and then the star slowly transformed, revealing a huge golden-winged great roc. Without entering the Great Sage Hall, without going through the baptism of the Starry River, you will never be a true great saint. Now, you are qualified to call yourself Phoenix Sage. A 7-star great saint is indeed different. The flying feather-void beast also appeared in another star. You just entered the Great Sage Hall, and your starlight is 7 times brighter than mine. Oh, your starlight has already materialized. The Heavenly Phoenix's gaze swept over, and he could already tell that the star formed by the golden-winged great roc was much more solid, while the flying feather-void beast and the 5-colored sea god shell were much more illusory. The rainbow sea god seashell also forced a smile onto its face. The Holy Phoenix's starlight has already been withdrawn, and it's not far from materializing. Boom, boom, boom. Before the 5-colored sea god seashell could finish, in the starry sky, the 7 stars shine brightly. Along with this light, the star patterns on the Heavenly Phoenix's back suddenly rush out of the monster body. An extremely strong suction force is generated from the star patterns. This suction force ignores space and falls into the 7 stars. Boom! The 7 stars shattered at the same time and issued a loud sound. They turned into countless stardust particles and fell into the ruins of the Big Dipper. Ah! What's going on? Even the 5-colored seashell and the flying feather-void beast were shocked. They had never seen anything like this before, nor had they seen anything like this in the records of the Great Sacred Hall. They didn't know what was going on. After the 7 stars shattered, the 7 spots were empty. However, this wasn't the end. Immediately after, 6 more stars lit up. The 6 pillars of stars fell on 6 of the 132 million dots. The bloodlines of the 6 dots began to mutate within the pillars of stars. As they fused with the transparent body, 6 star patterns slowly formed on the transparent body. Every tiny star pattern carried a mysterious aura, as well as a vast and unparalleled power of the stars and moon. Unlike the 7 stars of the Big Dipper, the 6 stars of the Southern Dipper had transformed into shadows. The 6 stars of the Southern Dipper? How is this possible? The golden-winged roc's body couldn't turn into a star under the starlight of the Heavenly Phoenix and had been forced to turn into a monster body. Seeing this, he cried out in disbelief. Could it be that the 7-star great saint is going to become a 13-star great saint? No. It's not just that. The flying feather-void beast's eyes were filled with extreme terror. Its tentacles pointed at the stars that lit up one after another. It was almost as if they were about to explode. The great golden-winged roc shifted his gaze away from the Heavenly Phoenix and looked towards the starry sky. Sure enough, the stars lit up one by one, and pillars of starlight fell from the sky, blasting into the Heavenly Phoenix's demonic form. The Heavenly Phoenix's demonic form gradually began to expand, enveloping the entire Great Sage Hall. In front of this gigantic demonic form, the demonic form that the great golden-winged roc was so proud of was like a sparrow. The pillars of stars in the sky finally converged into a river of stars. Countless mysteries of the stars filled the great sacred hall as if they were free. The 5-colored seashell could no longer think with his body. When he looked at the great sage hall again, it no longer looked like a sacred hall. Instead, it had turned into a gigantic planet. This planet was made up of tens of millions of planets, and every single one of them had turned into a pitch-black vortex. These vortexes were filled with a strange and powerful suction force. Not only did they suck in the surrounding light and shadows, but they also drew in endless stars through the mysterious bridge of stars. This corresponded to the brilliant starry sky above the Thousand Demons' sacred realm. These cute little creatures were the commonly seen autumn rats in the northernmost part of the Thousand Demons' sacred realm. Crunch, crunch. The sounds of crunching were extremely rhythmic, but all of a sudden, all of the sounds stopped. All of the autumn rats put down the demonic fruit that they were eating, and their little heads swayed left and right with all their might. Their eyes were filled with panic. Swoosh. Just a few dozen feet away from these autumn rats, a sound suddenly came from a small pile of snow. A white figure flashed out from the pile of snow and pounced on the closest autumn rat. Puff! Where the white figure landed, a red light flashed from within the hole, and the autumn rat had already fallen into the snow. The white figure's figure only caused snow and dust to fly, but it did not manage to grab a single strand of the autumn rat's red hair. At this moment, the white figure's figure was revealed. It was the autumn rat's natural enemy, the snow spear. This snow spear was like a leopard cat, but its 4 hooves were closer to the sides of its body, and there was an almost transparent membrane between its hooves. When the snow spear's attack missed, its membrane flapped again, and its body floated like a snowflake. It was as fast as lightning, and it attacked the closest autumn rat. Swoosh! The autumn rat immediately retracted its head, but the snow spear's figure swayed, and it actually abandoned the autumn rat and turned to the other side. Over there, another autumn rat stuck its head out of the hole in the snow, as if it was watching a show. It was not in a hurry to escape, as if a life-and-death battle on this lonely snowy plains was also interesting. Seeing the snow spear suddenly pounce on it, the autumn rat was greatly frightened. It was already unable to dodge, and its little head only retracted half an inch. Puff! The snow spear's claws landed on the autumn rat's skull with lightning speed, and some green-red blood spurted out while emitting hot air. Once the snow spear succeeded, it did not stop at all. Its membrane flapped, and its figure flew into the distance. Under its sharp claws, the snow spear's corpse dripped with blood, and it fell onto the snowy plains. Looking at the distant autumn rats, as the snow spear flew away, they began to become active again. They did not panic just because an autumn rat was killed, and the autumn rats that were slightly further away did not even notice that an autumn rat was killed. Chapter 44:28. However, just as the snow sprite's sharp claws dragged the autumn rat across the snowy plains and was about to choose a place to eat, the snow sprite's body suddenly stopped. The snow-white fur all over its body exploded with a schwa sound as its entire body silently fell into the snow. Immediately after, the originally tranquil snowy sky in the distant sky suddenly swept up several peerless hurricanes. The hurricanes were like huge spirals that swept across the sky ostentatiously. The fluttering snowflakes and the seemingly solidified red clouds in the sky were stirred up at the same time. It was the appearance of a storm. What was special was that just as the hurricanes rose, a valiant aura of a king surged over from afar. It couldn't help but fill up the entire sky. Even the snow on the snowy plains and mountain ranges were swept up. Even the solid ice city cracked with creaking sounds. Whoosh! The snow spear instinctively threw away the autumn rat's corpse. Its body didn't run away at all. It immediately rushed into the snow and disappeared in a moment. Looking behind the snow spear, the originally cheerful autumn rats had long disappeared without a trace. Only the corpse of the autumn rat with green-red blood flowing on its head was left staring blankly at the sky, allowing the swirling snowflakes to float past its big nose. The snow spear looked up at the sky. Autumn rat looked at the sky. As the wind blew and the clouds swayed, 3 huge figures appeared. The first was a dragon. The dragon bared its fangs and brandished its claws. Demonic clouds covered its body. Behind the dragon was a vermilion bird with flames all over its body. The vermilion bird's flames burned the space until it distorted. Its entire body gave off an ethereal feeling. On the vermilion bird's right was a huge spider with a colorful body. This spider was different from ordinary spiders. Its entire demonic body was slightly longer, and its huge claws flashed with a pitch-black luster. Between the spider's carapace and between the joints of its claws, there was a lot of golden fur. The fur swayed in the wind, and a lot of pitch-black demonic chi surged out. The demonic chi was mixed with thick blood. When it landed on the spider's carapace, it actually revealed the shape of dragon scales. What was special was that on the spider's swaying head, some valiant dragon might would faintly emerge from a protrusion from time to time. Weren't the three demons who had broken the tranquility of the snowland the three great saints of the demon race who had come to the northernmost part of the Thousand Demons' sacred realm for an exploration? The mystic armored pentaceratops, the red flame vermilion bird, and the nether dragon spider? The three great saints of the demon clan naturally couldn't pay attention to autumn rat and snow shark on the snowy plains. That huge figure flashed past autumn rat's dead eyes, and his vast vital consciousness had already scattered into the distance. Cough, cough. The nether demonic dragon spider coughed and said in a hoarse voice, "Dragon Sage, who do you think this new 7-star great saint is? I've been waiting in the great sage hall for so long, but he hasn't come? Could it be that he can avoid the great sage hall's star bridge?" Humph. The mystic armored pentaceratops snorted coldly like thunder. "How would I know? I'm just a 1-star great saint. I don't have the strength to resist the star bridge. But maybe this 7-star great saint can." Kiki. The scarlet flame vermilion bird laughed shrilly. Its voice was very similar to Zhu Mei's in the past. "I just don't know how strong this 7-star great saint is. I wonder who's stronger between him and Rock Sage." The scarlet flame vermilion bird's words seemed to have provoked the pentaceratops. The pentaceratops curled its tail and roared towards the sky. In the sky, a huge hole appeared in the clouds. Behind the hole, a beam of sunlight pierced through the hole. Although the sunlight seemed to have faded, it was still orange in color. Its sharpness pierced through the darkness of the sky. It was as if the pentaceratops was angry. The scarlet flame vermilion bird smiled and said, "Let's not talk about that dog's hit 7-star great saint. Who knows what he is? I'm curious about Sage Ni's actions in the great sage hall." "Sage and I?" The nether demonic dragon spider was slightly taken aback. He asked curiously, "What's so strange about him?" "This guy is usually very scheming and has always been on good terms with Dragon Sage. This extreme north. If it were normal, he would have instigated Sage Peng to come here." The scarlet flame vermilion bird smiled. "After all, Sage Peng's flying speed is extremely fast. If there's any danger, he can easily escape. Why did he insist on dragging Sage Peng to Bai Qingyu for no reason? If he went to flatter the ancestor's descendant, there's no need for Sage Peng to follow him, right? Could it be?" Before the nether demonic dragon spider could speak, the mystic armored pentaceratops coldly asked, "Humph, could it be what? Could it be that he knows about the 7-star great saint's background? Then he turned to approach Sage Peng? Or could it be that this 7-star great saint is related to the ancestor?" The scarlet flame vermilion bird probed. The nether demonic dragon spider shouted, "Impossible. If this 7-star great saint is related to the ancestor, how could Sage Bei not know?" That day in the great sage hall, he solemnly swore that the ancestor had never appeared in the past 10,000 years. Sage Bei? His head. Oh, wrong, his brainless demonic body? The mystic armored pentaceratops coldly smiled and said, "If he knows about the 7-star great saint's background, this sage will break off his dragon horn and give it to you." "Haha, Dragon Sage, you said it yourself." The nether demonic dragon spider laughed and said, "This sage has been coveting your dragon horn for a long time. Damn it, if this sage dares to give it to you, you dare to take it?" The mystic armored pentaceratops glared at the nether demonic dragon spider. "Although you have the demonic dragon's bloodline, are you sure you can subdue the dragon intent in this sage's dragon horn? Hee hee, how would I know if I don't try? Dragon Sage, why don't you let this sage try?" The nether demonic dragon spider said shamelessly. Scram. The mystic armored pentaceratops roared and shouted, "This sage doesn't have time to dawdle with you. Let's hurry up and see what's going on in the Qijing, Yuanfeng, and Bingqin demon realms, then quickly return to cultivate." Hee hee. Seeing that the mystic armored pentaceratops didn't want to talk about the golden rock, the scarlet flame vermilion bird smiled and said, "Speaking of Bai Qingyu, this sage has some news." "What news?" The mystic armored pentaceratops' curiosity was piqued, and he couldn't help but ask. "Dragon Sage, the Qijing demon realm isn't far from here, right? Let's hurry over and take a look." The scarlet flame vermilion bird said solemnly, "After all, The 3 demon realms have been completely destroyed, and even the great demons of Tsongyu Heaven haven't returned. Damn it! The mystic armored Pentaceratops roared. Rumble. A pitch-black thunderbolt appeared out of nowhere. Speak quickly. If you don't speak, this daddy will kill you. Don't be anxious, Dragon Sage. The scarlet flame vermilion bird replied with a smile, unafraid of the mystic armored Pentaceratops. This sage merely happened to hear the discussion of 2 great demons when passing by the dark flux demon realm. At first, this sage didn't pay much attention to it, but when Sage and I pulled Sage Peng to Bai Qingyu in the Great Sage Hall, this sage recalled this matter. Sparrow Sage, you are quite scheming. The nether demonic dragon spider said with a smile. You actually restrained yourself from mentioning Bai Qingyu's matter until now. Damn it, this sage forgot about it. The scarlet flame vermilion bird shrieked, as though trying to explain. Seeing the scarlet flame vermilion bird trying to delay the matter, the mystic armored Pentaceratops said coldly, Sparrow Sage, it's up to you whether you want to speak or not. When this sage returns to the Great Sage Hall, I will first tell Sage and I about this matter. That can't be, Dragon Sage. The scarlet flame vermilion bird said with a bitter expression. You also know that Sage and I is the type to seek revenge for the smallest grievance. This sage only knows a little bit of information, so it shouldn't be enough for him to remember it, right? Speak quickly. The mystic armored Pentaceratops roared again. The scarlet flame vermilion bird wasn't delaying the matter. He was testing whether the mystic armored Pentaceratops really didn't know about Bai Qingyu's matter. Unfortunately, he couldn't see anything from the mystic armored Pentaceratops' expression. Thus, he said with a smile, this sage heard that Bai Qingyu was holding a banquet. It seems that Bai Qingyu's demon king suppressed a human cultivator and wanted to use him to attract some humans to serve as food. What kind of bullshit is this? The mystic armored Pentaceratops didn't wait for the scarlet flame vermilion bird to finish speaking. The matter of a demon king attracted Sage and I? Sage and I even pulled Sage Peng over? Did he think that a human cultivator could lure the human race's sage of literature? Unless the human cultivator was immortal Emperor Go Chen's princess. Tisa. The nether demonic dragon spider immediately followed up on the mystic armored Pentaceratops' words. If it was immortal Emperor Go Chen's princess, that demon king wouldn't dare to suppress her even if he had 10 times the guts. Spider Sage, you're too full of yourself. The scarlet flame vermilion bird laughed. Bai Qingyu's demon king is Sage Bei's descendant. So what if he's Sage Bei's descendant? The nether demonic dragon spider asked, unconvinced. Even if Sage Bei wanted to suppress an immortal Emperor Go Chen's princess, he had to consider the consequences. What if it was you, ancestor? The scarlet flame vermilion bird's crimson flames shot up for thousands of feet. The nether demonic dragon spider was at a loss for words. The mystic armored Pentaceratops laughed. Spider Sage, don't listen to Sage Vermilion Bird. Why would Ancestor care about a demon king? That's right, that's right. The nether demonic dragon spider immediately glared at the scarlet flame vermilion bird and shouted. Why would Ancestor care about a human cultivator? This human cultivator naturally isn't immortal Emperor Go Chen's princess. The scarlet flame vermilion bird didn't care and said casually, as for who she is, I don't know. However, I do know that other than Bai Qingyu, there's also Shrouding Sky Ridge and Ancient Bell Mountain. Shrouding Sky Ridge? Ancient Bell Mountain? The mystic armored Pentaceratops was a bit surprised. Are those all the demon realms of Sage Bei's descendants? Of course not. The scarlet flame vermilion bird laughed. Shrouding Sky Ridge is the demon realm of one of Sage Peng's descendants, and Ancient Bell Mountain is the demon realm of one of Sage Ni's descendants? No wonder you didn't say anything in the Great Sacred Hall. The nether demonic dragon spider waved its claws in the air as if it was laughing. So these 3 demon realms are related to Sage Peng, Sage Ni, and Sage Bei. That's good. The mystic armored Pentaceratops said faintly, if Sage Peng and Qi Jing came, I might be. Hee. Why would he drag me to Bai Qingyu? He probably has some other plans in mind, right? Eh? The mystic armored Pentaceratops suddenly exclaimed in surprise. Its dragon body suddenly emitted a blinding light as it turned into a ray of light and rushed forward. Chapter 44-29. The scarlet flame vermilion bird was taken aback when he saw the profound armored pentahorn dragon's strange behavior. He hurriedly released his yuan will, and as expected, when he saw the situation in the distance, he was also shocked. He spread his wings and flames burned fiercely. The scarlet flame vermilion bird's huge body also disappeared in a flash. "We're already here, what's the hurry?" The nether demonic dragon spider muttered as its body shook. Then, a dozen of its claws tore the space apart, and its figure disappeared. When the three great saints of the demon race appeared in the sky, their gazes fell on the ground in front of them, and they remained silent for a long time. Beneath the three great sages was an abyss that spanned 1,000,000 miles. The abyss was at least 10,000 feet deep. Inside the abyss, snowflakes danced in the air, but the strange thing was that the abyss was different from the snow on the ground. At the bottom of the abyss, there was a thin layer of snow. Due to the heat of the earth, there were many places where the dark green soil was exposed to the night sky. However, there seemed to be a layer of phosphorescence in the dark green soil, which shone brightly in the night sky. This abyss was actually so big that one couldn't see the end of it. Layers upon layers of light flickered like sparkling waves. "How can this be?" After a long while, the nether demonic dragon spider said in a low voice, "The whale demon realm is an inland sea, right? How did it become an abyss?" "The sea is gone, so it naturally became an abyss." The scarlet flame vermilion bird replied in a low voice. He had a bad feeling in his heart. The nether demonic dragon spider said in shock, "How can this be? How can millions of miles of sea be gone just like that? Not even a drop of water or a piece of ice is gone." The profound armored pentahorn dragon said coldly, "It's not just the water, even the whale demon race was killed." "Yes." The scarlet flame vermilion bird sighed. "The whale demon race are all sea beasts that are close to 10,000 feet long. In terms of demonic bodies, they don't fear any demon race in the 1,000-demon sacred realm. There are also many great demons in the whale demon race. Although the demon king didn't reach the 8th grade of origin energy, it was close to the 8th grade. The great demons of Blue Moon Sky all died here. How could a demonic beast king with an upper 7th grade elemental energy survive?" The profound armored pentahorn dragon said coldly. "The problem is," the nether demonic dragon spider said curiously, "it's not just the monster kings and great monsters. There are many sea monsters in the Qi Jing demon realm. Apart from the Qi Jing, there are also Ji Bao, Qin Kuan, and other monster clans. Although they are not as large as the Qi Jing, they are also very agile. How could they not know how to escape? Take a look at this place. Not only is there no seawater, there isn't even a single piece of flesh or remains. It is indeed rather strange." The profound armored pentagonal dragon said coldly, "I'm afraid the humans are up to something. Let's go check it out. Didn't the human race have a saying? If you don't want people to know, don't do it in the first place. Since you've done it, you'll definitely leave behind some clues." "All right." The crimson flame vermilion bird nodded and flapped its wings, flying in a certain direction. The mystic pentaceratops dragon let out a long roar and also flew in a certain direction. Only the netherworld demonic dragon spider hesitated for a moment before it also rushed in a certain direction. In less than an hour, the three great saints had all returned to the sect. Dragon Sage, Sparrow Sage. The netherworld demonic dragon spider was the first to speak. "I wonder what you've discovered. This great saint couldn't find anything. This place is extremely strange. There isn't even a trace of a dissipated soul left behind. Everything within hundreds of thousands of miles is a dead zone." The crimson flame vermilion bird nodded as well. "That's right. This great saint also couldn't find any clues. There isn't a single trace of the human race or any other demonic beast race that has been here." The profound armored pentagonal dragon looked into the distance and didn't speak for a long time. Although it didn't answer, the crimson flame vermilion bird and the netherworld demonic dragon spider knew that it hadn't discovered anything. "Sparrow Sage, Spider Sage." The profound armored pentagonal dragon retracted its gaze from the abyss and said, "Did you notice that the bottom of this abyss, as well as the four walls, are all extremely flat?" "No." The crimson flame vermilion bird was stunned for a moment before it casually replied. Its vital consciousness swept toward the abyss, as well as the place where the abyss connected to the ground in the distance. The crimson flame vermilion bird exclaimed in shock, as expected. "This is really strange. How can it be so flat?" Could it be that the human race has repaired this place? That's true. The netherworld demonic dragon spider looked at the flat bottom of the abyss and said in agreement. Not to mention the mud at the bottom of the Qijing demonic realm's inner sea, there should be a lot of reefs and rocks. But now, there isn't even a trace of them. It's as if the entire demon realm seabed had been flattened by a boulder millions of kilometers in size. What's even stranger is that the four walls look as if they've been cut by a blade. The profound armored pentagonal dragon said coldly. Could it be that the human race is trying to show off to our thousand demonic sacred realm? Or are they trying to express something? Don't think about the human race for now. The crimson flame vermilion bird shook its head. If they wanted to wipe out all the demonic beasts in the Qijing demonic realm, how many high-level cultivators would the human race have to send over? There's no way our thousand demonic sacred realm wouldn't have noticed. Perhaps it's the work of some demonic beast king. Which demonic beast king? Sparrow Sage, why don't you tell us who has the ability to destroy the Qijing demonic realm to such an extent? The profound armored pentagonal dragon retorted. I can say without reservation that even if it's Sparrow Sage, you wouldn't be able to burn the entire Qijing demonic realm to the ground with your scarlet flames. And that's under the circumstances where no information was leaked. That's true. The crimson flame vermilion bird nodded slightly. And the great demons of Tsongyu heaven. The nether demonic dragon spider agreed. Who would dare to attack so brazenly? That's the #1 expert of our thousand demonic sacred realm. At this point, the nether demonic dragon spider hurriedly shut its mouth and changed its words. That's the 6 great sages of our thousand demonic sacred realm. Bullshit, it's the 7 great sages now. The profound armored pentagonal dragon cursed. The nether demonic dragon spider was a bit embarrassed and angry, but its claws moved, and it pointed to the bottom of the abyss. And this phosphorescence, it's also strange. It seems to be embedded in the soil at the bottom of the abyss, and even the snow can't cover it. What about the bottom of the abyss? The profound armored pentagonal dragon asked. I haven't seen it yet. The nether demonic dragon spider muttered. The crimson flame vermilion bird smiled. Then I'll have to trouble you to take a look first. This is Spider Saint's innate ability, and it's something we can't compare to. Dragon Saint, Sparrow Saint, please wait a moment. The nether demonic dragon spider nodded, and the demonic chi around its body gradually surged out. The blood-red light was particularly dazzling in the night, and when it waved its claws, demonic clouds similar to the nether demonic chi surged out, and the nether demonic dragon spider's body fell into the abyss. Seeing the nether demonic dragon spider's body disappear, the crimson flame vermilion bird suddenly said, Dragon Saint, you really didn't find anything? What does Sparrow Saint mean? Could it be that you think I wouldn't say anything if I found something? The profound armored pentagonal dragon asked coldly. The crimson flame vermilion bird chuckled and said in a low voice, That's not it. It's just that I feel that Dragon Saint is the true #1 expert of our great sage temple. So how could you not find anything? Humph. The profound armored pentagonal dragon snorted. Maybe in the past, but with the 7-star great sage, I'm not so sure anymore. Dragon Saint. The crimson flame vermilion bird suddenly changed the topic. Do you think the 7-star great sage has something to do with the Qi whale demonic realm? The profound armored pentagonal dragon was stunned for a moment, then its eyes lit up. It nodded and said, You're right. The Qi whale demonic realm is an inner sea. If the 7-star great sage became a great sage in the void at the bottom of the sea, then his aura might be blocked by the endless sea. This 7-star great sage is a great sage that has never appeared in our thousand demons sacred realm. If he can borrow the power of the moon and stars when he becomes a great sage, then it's not impossible for him to wipe out the entire Qi whale demonic realm. Then there's the question. The crimson flame vermilion bird asked with interest. Why would he wipe out the entire Qi whale demonic realm? Is it because of hatred? Is the 7-star great sage also a member of the sea race? No, it should be to hide his identity. The profound armored pentagonal dragon shook its head. The reason why he didn't use the star bridge to go to the great sage temple is because he doesn't want us to know his true body. According to this conjecture, he also wiped out the entire Qi whale demonic realm to hide his identity. It's fine if he wiped out the entire Qi whale clan. But why would he destroy the entire inner sea? The crimson flame vermilion bird didn't understand. Deliberately mystifying. The profound armored pentagonal dragon was even more certain. So that we can't guess that he did it. Only a 7-star great sage can be unafraid of the rock sage and Blue Moon Heaven, and dare to kill the great demons of Blue Moon Heaven. If that's the case. The crimson flame vermilion bird was shocked. It looked towards the bottom of the abyss and cried out, "The spider sage is in danger, quick!" The profound armored pentagonal dragon also came to a realization. It hurriedly urged its dragon body and cried out, "We'll go help the spider sage." Boom. Just as the two saints landed at the bottom of the abyss, a surge of demonic chi rose from the ground, and the nether demonic dragon spider hurriedly flew out. The mystic armored pentaceratops was startled, and its dragon body flashed with brilliance as it cried out, "Spider saint, did you see something?" No. Seeing the two saints coming, the nether demonic dragon spider immediately calmed down and smiled. "There's nothing in the abyss." "Then why are you so flustered?" The crimson flame vermilion bird urged. "You really didn't see anything? Whether it's a human or a demon?" "No, I really didn't." The nether demonic dragon spider laughed. "This saint was afraid that the two great sages would get anxious from waiting, so I came out in a hurry." "Humph, spider sage, you're a great sage of our great sage temple. Why are you so cowardly?" The crimson flame vermilion bird gave the nether demonic dragon spider some face, but the profound armored pentagonal dragon didn't care at all. "Why would this saint be cowardly?" The nether demonic dragon spider flatly denied. "This saint was afraid that the two of you would get anxious from waiting." "Oh, I remember now. There's nothing special within 1,000 miles of the bottom of the abyss. As I travel further down, there seems to be some indescribable changes in the space, but I don't know what exactly it is. I'll have to ask Sage and I to come over and take a look." Chapter 44:30. "All right," the Pentaceratops said helplessly. "We'll rush to the Yuanfeng and Bingqin demon realms now. If the situation is similar, we'll ask Saint and I to come over first." Just as the Pentaceratops said this, boom. In the night sky, outside the thick red clouds, a huge roar sounded. A huge beam of light from the stars and moons penetrated the clouds and fell. Although the beam of light was very far away from the three great sages, the heavy clouds formed a vortex under the bombardment of the beam of light, which was very obvious in the dark night sky. Then boom boom. Another 5 loud roars sounded in succession. The clouds that had been penetrated now had 5 more beams of light from the stars and moons falling. The entire cloud layer seemed to be torn apart by a huge hand. As the wind and clouds surged, the strong power of the stars and moons filled the entire sky. Like a tidal wave, the power of the stars and moons flooded the night sky. Just as the three great sages looked at each other, 1, 2. In just a few breaths, the 6 stars of the Southern Dipper appeared in the cloud hole. At this time, the 6 stars of the Southern Dipper connected in the starry sky and proudly looked down on the entire land of the demon race. The brilliant starlight not only illuminated the entire starry sky, but also the 1,000 demons' sacred realm. The 3 great sages were shocked. Before they could think further, boom, boom, boom. 3 slightly soft roars sounded from the 3 great sages. The dragon horn of the Pentaceratops shone brightly, and the star marks engraved on the 5 segments of the dragon horn appeared out of thin air, condensing into a dragon-shaped star in the sky. Many beams of light from the stars and moons fell on it. The dragon horn on the top of its head was revealed. This dragon horn was also different from ordinary dragon horns. It had 5 petals, and each petal was engraved with star marks. These star marks flashed with a black brilliance under the crystal flowers, and they actually condensed into the shape of a dragon star. As for the scarlet flame vermilion bird, each of its wings had half an eye-catching star scar. These star scars emitted starlight along with the scarlet flames. When the pillars of starlight and moonlight fell into these star scars, they also appeared out of thin air like stars. The nether demonic dragon spider was a little different from the other 2 saints. First, blood gushed out from his abdomen, and then more than half of a blood-colored star mark appeared. The beam of starlight and moonlight first fell on the blood before penetrating the star mark. As the star shadow rotated, a star shadow emitting the aura of the netherworld appeared below the nether demonic dragon spider. The 8th great saint? The nether demonic dragon spider cried out in surprise. Not just the 8th great sage. The mystic armored Pentaceratops sensed the surging starlight tide in the entire Thousand Demons sacred realm, and coldly said, "And it's a 6-star great sage." "That's impossible." The crimson flame vermilion bird cried out. "Since when have the great sages of our thousand-beast holy realm become so cheap?" It had only been a few months, yet 2 great sages had appeared in succession? One is a 7-star great sage, and the other is a 6-star great sage. How are the other great sages supposed to live? Boom, boom, boom. Before the crimson flame vermilion bird's words could even be heard, the entire starry sky was filled with rumbling sounds again, and this time, it didn't stop. Seeing that all the stars in the starry sky had been lit up, the extreme north, which was originally covered by thick layers of clouds, also shone brightly. Endless beams of light from the stars and the moon descended, not only sweeping away all the clouds, but also illuminating the earth as if it was daytime. 7 stars, 8 stars, 9 stars, 10 stars, 11 stars. The nether demonic dragon pearl stared dumbfoundedly at the stars that lit up one by one. It was still counting in a daze. In the end, it simply stopped counting and roared. "Could it be that a supreme saint of myriad stars has appeared in my Thousand Demons sacred realm? It's not just 10,000 stars." The crimson flame vermilion bird was also somewhat puzzled. He coldly said, "It should be called the 10,000 stars great sage. No. This isn't a newly ascended great sage." Suddenly, the Pentaceratops mystic armored Pentaceratops pointed at where the Big Dipper was and shouted, "The Big Dipper doesn't have any brilliance at all. It's different from when we became great sages. This should be the work of that mysterious 7-star great sage." At this point, the 3 great sages looked at each other as if they had been enlightened. They shouted in unison, "Great Sage Hole! Galaxy Marrow Cleansing! Quick, let's hurry back to the Great Sage Hole." At this point, the Pentaceratops mystic armored Pentaceratops no longer cared about exploring the Yuan Feng and Bing Qin demon realms. He hurriedly said, "This 7-star great sage is too cunning. He tricked us into coming to the contract whale, and while Saint and I and the others went to buy Qingyu, he used the star bridge that never disappeared to go to the Great Sage Hall to cleanse his marrow. From the looks of it, he must have grasped the ancient secret of the Great Sage Hall. If I'm not mistaken, he has a great secret. It might even be disadvantageous to us 6 great sages. We must take advantage of the fact that he has yet to complete his purification and kill him." "Kill Myriad Star Great Sage?" The nether demonic dragon spider was terrified. "Even if we 6 great sages join forces, we're still no match for him. If he takes it one step at a time and slowly draws in the power of the stars, we naturally won't be his match." The profound armored pentagonal dragon urged its body forward, not caring whether the nether demonic dragon spider had caught up or not. It yelled, "Unfortunately, his greed is insatiable. He actually wants to activate all the stars in the entire Great Sage Hall. With so many stars wanting to carve star marks on his body, how could he possibly withstand it? Also, if we 6 great sages join forces, won't we take advantage of the time when he's focused on his marrow cleansing to make our move?" "That's right. Let's go." The vermilion bird also shouted. "If I'm not mistaken, Saint Peng, Saint and I, Saint Bei, and even the great ancestor should be rushing to the Great Sage Hall. Let's hurry back." The figures of the 3 great sages flashed in the night sky that was as bright as day, leaving behind a seemingly endless abyss that was incomparably cold under the starlight. Seeing that the night was as bright as day, Xiaohua already understood that this was a phenomenon caused by the 7-star great sage, Feng Wu, entering the Great Sage Hall. However, seeing that the stars in the sky had all fallen to dust, Xiaohua was still greatly shocked. He sent a group of disciples and cultivators back to Shanhua continent while he slowly flew in the starry sky. He felt the power of the stars and moon lingering around him like a lover's kiss, and he couldn't help but think to himself, "This heavenly phoenix. What's his background? What's his goal?" That day in the Legacy Realm, that voice was already extremely strange, and this heavenly phoenix's voice was even more resolute. What has the heavenly phoenix decided? It seems like this decision is very difficult, and it's better to die than to live. Legacy Realm. Legacy Realm. As the name implied, it was a place where the legacy of the younger generation was left behind. If the bloodline of the Absolute Saint was given to thousands of demons, it would naturally be a legacy. However, if this legacy was completely absorbed by the heavenly phoenix, What would it be? What kind of demon will it become? Absolute Sage Demon? That day in the Legacy Realm, this Xiao already felt that it was inconceivable that the Heavenly Phoenix obtained the bloodline of the Absolute Sage. Now, looking at the starry sky, this Xiao really doesn't dare to believe it. This demon itself. How big of a secret does it have? The more Xiao Hua thought about it, the more he felt that this world was truly too big. He was already a Mahayana realm human, and was considered a supreme existence in the 3 continents. However, in front of these mysteries, he was inferior to an ant. Everything else aside, just the divine punishment that day. Even a demon as strong as Bei Xian, couldn't resist at all in the face of the divine punishment. Not to mention that I'm already a Grand Ascension stage human. Feng Wu is already a great sage of the Great Sage Hall. Previously, he was already a 7-star Great Sage. If the golden-winged Great Peng hadn't made a breakthrough recently, the title of #1 expert of the demon race would definitely belong to Feng Wu. And now, Feng Wu is borrowing the power of the Great Sage Hall to engrave star patterns on his body. I believe that after this opportunity, even the golden-winged Great Peng won't be a match for Feng Wu. This 1,000-demon sacred realm will be his. This little demon is also his subordinate, so I can't make things difficult for him. I can only make things difficult for myself. Chapter 44-31. Haha. Xiao Hua couldn't help but laugh. His figure turned into a streak of light as he flew into the distance. Half a meal later, the monster struggled to get up from the ground. He shook his head as if he had just woken up from a dream. His wings flapped as he shouted, "Damn it, who is this human? How can he be so powerful? I've got nothing better to do. Why would I want to devour a human instead of using the power of the stars and moon? The power of the stars and moon entering my body is equivalent to several years of effort. Why would I waste my time?" The monster muttered as he guided the starlight into his body to refine his monster body. Just as the monster said, the 1,000-demon sacred realm was even more lively than when Feng Wu became a 7-star great saint. This was the power of the stars. It was far more powerful than the power of the 7-star great saints. Countless monsters were cultivating in seclusion, activating their own race's secret technique to guide the stars and moon into their bodies. The realm that had been stagnant for a long time was slowly being pushed forward by the vast tide of stars and moon. At the same time, above the heads of every demon cultivator in the sacred realm of 1,000 demons, there was a trace of faith and worship that could not be detected by the naked eye, divine sense, or other ordinary divine abilities. It passed through space and fell on Xiao Hua, into the crystal-like godhead that could not be seen outside of Xiao Hua's Naiwen Palace. With Xiao Hua's current cultivation, he naturally couldn't detect this phenomenon. He saw that all the monsters were cultivating, so he also concealed his aura. However, after flying for a while, he saw a beautiful mountain forest under the moonlight. Green water flowed, and several acres of grass surrounded the mountain forest. It looked like a green carpet. Xiao Hua's heart skipped a beat. His figure descended and stood on the green grass. His gaze once again sized up the surroundings as he said in a low voice, "Forget it, it'll be here then." Saying that, Xiao Hua raised his hand and took out the yin-yang bracelet that Bai Bo gave him. He sent his divine sense inside and took out Fairy Jing's remains, as well as her bloody clothes. Looking at the clothes, although there was a strong smell of blood on them, Fairy Jing's aura still existed. Smelling this aura, the scenes from when he saw Fairy Jing on Jade Mountain all the way to when she left on Heartbreak Mountain flashed before Xiao Hua's eyes. Xiao Hua really didn't expect that their parting at that time would be forever. He could no longer see that Fairy Jing who carefully hid her lowliness in her heart for fear of being hurt. Deep sorrow filled Xiao Hua's heart. Fairy Jing had died for him, and at the same time, she had died to atone for her sins. But Fairy Jing didn't have to use her own life to pay for this sin. Even if Xiao Hua himself had been suppressed there, Xiao Hua wouldn't have let Fairy Jing use her life to save him. What truly brought Fairy Jing to this point was the love in her heart. That love had actually become a burden. While making her surpass the heartless water, it also made her unable to bear the burden. Xiao Hua whispered. Rather than talking to Fairy Jing, it was better to say that he was talking to himself. "Fairy Jing, I have already taken your soul into the Shenhua continent. I believe that when you enter the cycle of reincarnation, You will be a different person. In this life, this Xiao has been acquainted with you, but I've failed to live up to your feelings. If it weren't for this Xiao, perhaps you would have been able to live a peaceful life. Of course, this Xiao really didn't know the pain in your heart that day and misunderstood you, thinking that you were a woman who was greedy for power. Now, this Xiao knows what you're thinking and has already fulfilled your dying wish. This Xiao originally wanted to bury your remains in the Shanhua continent as a memento. But this life is this life, and the next life is the next life. You definitely don't like living in this life, so this Xiao might as well cut off everything in this life and the next life. I believe that this Xiao's choice is also your choice. I hope that you will be happy in the next life and be a carefree woman of the human race. As he spoke, Xiao Hua's figure flashed and sank into the ground. He only stopped when he had traveled a few hundred meters. He looked around and made a grabbing motion with his hand. Poof! A space a few feet wide was grabbed by him, and Xiao Hua sent Fairy Jing's bloody clothes and remains into it. When Xiao Hua stared at the bloody clothes for a moment, it was as if he could see Fairy Jing's dreamy eyes from that day. Those eyes were filled with joy, resentment, happiness, and sorrow. It was as if a net was trying to capture Xiao Hua's gaze, but the moment it was captured, it freed Xiao Hua's gaze. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. I hope that my thoughts and memories will go with the wind. Xiao Hua sighed. With another swipe of his hand, the space was covered by soil. He believed that it wouldn't be long before everything here became a part of the earth, and there would be no traces left. Oh! Just as Xiao Hua put away his sorrow and prepared to leave this place of sorrow, he suddenly raised his eyebrows. His divine sense swept towards a place on the ground like a tide. When he saw the scene in the distance clearly, he couldn't help but be stunned and actually said in surprise, Why is he here? Amidst his surprised voice, a green brilliance flashed around Xiao Hua's body, and his figure had already disappeared. Thousands of kilometers away, deep within the earth, there was an incomplete nascent soul spirit body that was flashing with a faint spirit light. It was escaping into the depths of the earth, and behind it were hundreds of weasel-like demonic beasts. Their bodies surged with dark green demonic energy as they followed closely behind. The nearest demon beast was only a few hundred feet away from him, and the demon aura and starlight it spat out from its mouth and nose had already landed on the nascent soul's back like a hook. Wasn't this nascent soul spirit body Xian Ping, who had been missing for a long time? At this moment, Xian Ping was as anxious as a stray dog. His physical body had been killed by the gathering moth beast at Yizhao Ridge, and only his nascent soul had escaped. Xue Mingzi originally wanted to save his nascent soul, but Xian Ping already knew Xue Mingzi's intentions. He didn't dare to trust Xue Mingzi, and he also didn't dare to trust Ao Zhantian. Thus, he could only choose to escape by himself. Unfortunately, Xian Ping wasn't a late-stage nascent soul cultivator, nor was he an astral projection cultivator. His nascent soul wasn't completely solid, and he only escaped for a few dozen kilometers before he discovered that his nascent soul was showing signs of dissipating. Thus, he didn't hesitate to escape into the ground. This was also the reason why Xue Mingzi, Ao Zhantian, and even He Xiong couldn't find him. When Xian Ping felt safe, he hurriedly used his divine ability to return to the hidden immortal continent. However, after flying for half a day, Xian Ping discovered that something was wrong. It was already extremely dangerous for a human cultivator with a physical body to fly in the Thousand Demons sacred realm. How could he, a nascent soul spirit body, leave the Thousand Demons sacred realm safely? In just half a day, Xian Ping's nascent soul spirit body had already been attacked by several groups of demonic beasts. However, they were only demonic beasts, and not demonic beasts. Xian Ping pondered for a moment and knew that he couldn't leave the Thousand Demons sacred realm by himself. Thus, he thought of the other Taoist cultivators who came to the Thousand Demons sacred realm to rescue Xiao Hua. This was because Xian Ping learned from Xue Mingzi that other than Xue Mingzi and Ao Zhantian, there might be other Taoist cultivators who had received Xiao Hua's favor. Thus, he wanted to try his luck and see if he could meet other humans who were as enthusiastic as Xiao Hua. Or perhaps, he could meet a fellow Taoist he was familiar with. The Thousand Demons sacred realm was so huge that Xian Ping didn't know where to go. He could only follow the route he had discussed with Xue Mingzi and wander around the area, not daring to stray too far away. Xiao Hua only paid attention to the surroundings and neglected the underground. In addition, Xian Ping was too careful, so he didn't discover any traces of Xueqi. Later on, when he saw that he was getting closer to Bai Qingyu, Xueqi naturally left the original route and went to look for other cultivators. Very coincidentally, Xueqi encountered Prince Lan attacking Chongyu. Seeing Prince Lan's savagery, how could Xueqi dare to show his face? Once he had the chance, he immediately ran away. Afterward, before Xueqi's luck arrived, Xiaohua had already unleashed his might. The entire Bai Qingyu was engulfed in the flames of war. Xueqi, who had a nascent soul spirit body, suffered even more. He didn't dare to think about running into any human cultivators. He only wanted to escape from the chaotic heaven-earth origin Qi. Xueqi's luck was naturally bad. He had just escaped from the battle when he was immediately discovered by some demonic beasts. Although Xueqi could kill some of the demonic beasts, there were countless demonic beasts in the Thousand Demons sacred realm. His nascent soul spirit body was constantly dissipating. The aura of the spirit body was the best food for demonic beasts. How could he escape from the pursuit of those savage demonic beasts? In just a day, Xueqi's nascent soul spirit body was on the verge of collapse. His primordial spirit had also been devoured greatly. Feng Wu's ability to summon the power of the stars was truly a feast for all the demonic beasts in the Thousand Demons sacred realm. However, for Xueqi, who had a nascent soul spirit body, it was tantamount to a monstrous calamity. Not to mention, his spirit body was even more devastated under the impact of the starlight beam. His damaged primordial spirit became increasingly blurry. He increasingly didn't know where he should escape to and how he should escape. Under the brilliance of the starlight beam, those demonic beasts were several times more excited than if they had eaten countless demonic herbs. Even if Xueqi went deep underground, he still wouldn't be able to escape from their pursuit. Just like that, Xueqi flew to the left side of Xiaohua. However, the moment Xiaohua discovered him, the weasel-like demonic beast spat out demonic aura. This demonic aura was equally powerful in this extraordinary night. It actually produced a hook-like brilliance of the starlight beam. When this brilliance landed, Xueqi's nascent soul spirit body was pinned down. No matter how Xueqi urged his nascent soul, he couldn't escape. Ayo! Seeing that the demonic beast in front of them had succeeded, the demonic beasts closest to them became even more excited. They let out a roar and spat out demonic aura, preparing to share the delicious food in their hands. Xueqi, who was already on the verge of death, still had some instincts. After sensing the danger, he didn't hesitate at all. His nascent soul spat out a strand of silver blood. Within the blood, only a piece of the fan remained. With a schwa sound, his nascent soul spirit body was pulled away by the demonic aura of the demonic beast. The remaining 40% of his nascent soul spirit body escaped once again. Unfortunately, even so, Xueqi only flew a few hundred feet before the demonic beast that had spat out demonic aura caught up. The demonic aura firmly sucked Xueqi in. Chapter 44-32. Xueqi, who was about to die, didn't have any extra consciousness. His spirit body was about to be devoured by the demon beasts. Suddenly, an incomparably powerful divine sense swept over. Before it even got close to Xueqi, the demon beasts, who were extremely sensitive to danger, had already sensed it. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. The demon beasts closest to Xueqi didn't hesitate at all. They decisively abandoned Xueqi's nascent soul spirit body and fled into the distance. The 100 or so demon beasts that were just about to approach also fled in all directions. Xiaohua didn't dare to be careless. After sweeping with his divine sense, he chased for a few kilometers before slowly retracting it. When his figure flashed and appeared beside Xueqi, he hurriedly waved his hand. Xueqi's spirit body, which was already abnormally thin, stopped dissipating and became still in the soil. How could this be? Xiaohua's gaze swept over and immediately knew that Xueqi had already reached the point of no return. Even the nascent soul spirit body's eyes had already turned gray, without a trace of divine light. Obviously, the nascent soul spirit had almost completely disappeared. When Xiaohua turned into a python and saw Xueqi had already fled. But according to what Ao Zhantian said later, Xueqi had actually reached a certain agreement with Xue Mingzi. Speaking of which, Xian Ping had already violated the oath that day. However, seeing Xian Ping's miserable end, it was hard for Xiaohua to have any thoughts of blaming him. Alas! Forget it. Xiaohua sighed slightly and said, I just sent off an old friend, and now I have to send off another one. One was deeply affectionate. The other repaid kindness with enmity. But in the end, they both turned into nothingness and dust. Unfortunately, your nascent soul has already been shattered, and a lot of your soul has dissipated. Even if I wanted to take you into the netherworld, I can't. I only hope that after you enter the cycle of reincarnation, your soul will be complete, and you won't be an ungrateful person in the next life. Saying that, Xiaohua raised his hand and was about to remove the restriction, but at that moment, Xian Ping's nascent soul spirit body suddenly opened its eyes, as if it was the final radiance of the setting sun. When Xian Ping's gaze fell on Xiaohua's face, a divine light suddenly appeared in his eyes. Although Xian Ping opened his mouth, he seemed to be powerless and couldn't speak. Xiaohua saw guilt and regret in Xian Ping's eyes. He smiled and said, Fellow Taoist Xian Ping, I know what you want to say. Xue Mingzi had already been executed. Everything from before is already in the past. Although you had some ideas in your heart, you didn't put them into action. I won't hold a grudge against you. Furthermore, I'm grateful that you came to the Thousand Demons Sacred Realm to save me. You don't have to think too much about it. Just go in peace. The blood oath you made earlier is now invalid. I hope you can be a man of indomitable spirit in your next life. Joy appeared in Xian Ping's eyes when he heard this. His head that was only left with an outline nodded slightly, as if he was gratified that Xiaohua had forgiven him. However, this only lasted for a moment before the light in his eyes gradually dissipated. However, just as Xian Ping's spirit was about to dissipate, a look of excitement suddenly appeared on his face. He opened his mouth but no sound came out. Fellow Taoist Xian, go in peace. Xiaohua nodded slightly and said, Unfortunately, your 3 souls and 6 spirits are already incomplete. This Xiao doesn't dare to help you transcend. Swish swish. Just as Xiaohua was speaking, Xian Ping's remaining spiritual body suddenly combusted without any fire. It was also within this spiritual fire that Xian Ping used up all his strength to anxiously ask, Changyu is. Unfortunately, at this point, even if Xian Ping wanted to say the 4th word, he couldn't. With a flash of fire, everything turned into nothingness. Changyu? Xiaohua was stunned. His mind turned rapidly as he thought to himself, Isn't Changyu? Suddenly, Xiaohua was shocked. A golden light flashed between his eyebrows, and he was about to use the Buddhist 9 words divine ability. However, just as the golden runes gradually appeared, countless Buddhist chants rang out, and Xiaohua stopped. His eyes looked at the void as if he could see Xian Ping's dissipating soul. After the time it took to brew a cup of tea, he said, Forget it. Your soul is already incomplete. If I use the soul summoning technique now, I'm afraid it will affect your reincarnation. This Xiao cannot harm you for the sake of my own interests. Even if the information you know is very important to this Xiao. After he finished speaking, Xiaohua's figure flashed, and he escaped from the ground. After rushing out of the ground, he found a mountain peak and sat down cross-legged. He rubbed his chin with his hand and looked at the starlight in the sky. He thought to himself, why did Xian Ping suddenly mention Changyu before he died? What did the words Changyu sure mean? When Xian Ping died, he didn't meet with Changyu. He didn't know that Changyu had perished together with the demonic beasts. The information he knew must be from the hidden immortal mainland. If it was good news, Xian Ping wouldn't have sent a voice transmission. It could only be bad news. Could it be Changyu is a traitor? Could it be that Changyu had colluded with Xue Mingzi in the Soaring Dragon Mountain Range? Did Xian Ping find out? Xue Mingzi was prepared to meet with Changyu, but who knew that this Xiao would appear, and Changyu wouldn't have the chance to meet with Xue Mingzi? Or maybe Changyu has colluded with the Grand Mist Ancestors' force. Did Xian Ping find out? Or did Changyu leak my Soaring Dragon Mountain Range's disciples' whereabouts to the Thousand Demons Sacred Land? Thinking of this, Xiaohua's eyes narrowed. He shook his head slightly and muttered to himself, You may know a person for a long time without understanding his true nature. Back then, This Xiao treated Changyu well and gave him cultivation conditions that were not inferior to others. Did he really think that this Xiao would be suppressed by Qingyu's Beast King and unable to escape? Was he so eager to jump out? Didn't he think that even if he jumped out, what could he do? He still has Xueqi, Li Xiang, and Prince Lan before him. How could he control the Fortune Gate? Unless he killed 3 nascent Soul Realm senior brothers like the Southern Sea Dragon Palace's 4th Prince Ao Qian. Only then could he. Thinking of Changyu's betrayal, Xiaohua couldn't help but feel heartache. He tried his best not to think about it, but for the Fortune Gate, he had no choice but to think about it. When Xiaohua thought of this, he was suddenly startled and unconsciously stood up. Bas! It didn't matter if he stood up, but the space within 100 miles to his left produced the sound of air exploding and the sound of thunder. No! Xiaohua's eyes spun rapidly. If Changyu is such a scheming person, his best plan is not to come to the Thousand Demons' sacred land. It's best if he hides in the Soaring Dragon Mountain range. He only needs to wait for the Fortune Gate's disciples to be killed, then he can claim to be the sect master in the Soaring Dragon Mountain range. Even if Xueqi and Prince Lan return, they must be seriously injured. Wouldn't it be easier for him to make a move? Of course, we can't rule out the possibility of him colluding with Shui Mingzi on the way to Bai Qingyu. A kind-hearted person would never think of others as his enemy. Therefore, in just a short moment, Xiaohua thought of an excellent excuse for Changyu. Of course, all of this was just a guess. Xiaohua pondered for a moment and called Daoist Wu out from the space. The moment Daoist Wu landed in the air, he immediately raised his head and shouted, "Damn it, isn't Daoist Feng Wu too arrogant? What is he doing? Is he trying to alarm the entire Thousand Demons' sacred land? A great saint of the demonic race has entered the Great Holy Hall. Is he trying to call immortal Emperor Go-Chan and Vairocana revered Buddha over to observe the ceremony? I don't think this is what he wants." Xiaohua replied indifferently. Not to mention that this might be the effect of the Great Holy Hall. The heavenly phoenix is in his body. It's not something he can decide. Daoist Feng seems a little depressed. Daoist Wu looked at Xiaohua and said, "Daoist Feng has just defeated the Thousand Demons' sacred land's old ancestor. You should be in high spirits." "That's nothing." Xiaohua smiled bitterly. While pondering, he told Daoist Wu the whole story. See. Daoist Wu instantly understood. He sucked in a breath of cold air and said, "Even your own disciple has become like this? I only have suspicions. I can't be sure, so I asked Daoist Feng to come over and take a look." Xiaohua replied, If Daoist Wen Chu is here, he would be the most suitable." Daoist Wu nodded. "In that case, I will reluctantly accept." Daoist Feng, conceal yourself first." As Xiaohua spoke, he took out the Kunlun mirror and pulled Xueqi out of the Shenhua continent with his mind. Xueqi was still sitting cross-legged as if he was regulating his breathing. Xiaohua didn't disturb him and just stood at the side and watched quietly. In just a moment, Xueqi felt that something was wrong. The quintessential essence in his body flowed rapidly. He was on guard and immediately opened his eyes. "Master." Xueqi only understood when he saw Xiaohua standing beside him. He raised his head and looked around in surprise. He said anxiously, "Is this the Star Moon Palace?" "No." Xiaohua's tone was a little indifferent as he replied, "This is still the Thousand Demons' sacred land. It's only about 1,000 miles away from Bai Qingyu." Xueqi heaved a sigh of relief and said with a smile, "Did I say that? It's just a moment. How could I have arrived? Unless the time in the Kunlun immortal realm is different from the 3 continents." As he spoke, Xueqi looked at the stars and moon in the sky in surprise and asked curiously, "Master, what's going on? Why is the Thousand Demons' sacred land's starry sky different from the hidden immortal continent? Is it day or night?" "It's night." Xiaohua's tone was still indifferent. "It's just that the 7 stars great saint of the Thousand Demons' sacred land has entered the Great Sage Hall and attracted the congratulations of 10,000 stars." Hiss. Xueqi was shocked. 7 stars great saint? Could it be that he's even more powerful than that golden-winged great rock? "If I'm not wrong, he should be." Xiaohua replied. "Master, then, should we hurry to the Star Moon Palace?" Xueqi was shocked when he heard that a 7 stars great saint who was even more powerful than the #1 great saint of the demon race, the golden-winged great rock, had appeared. He hurriedly suggested tactfully. Xueqi glanced at Xueqi and replied, "There's no need for that. This 7 stars great saint and I are close friends. He definitely won't make things difficult for me." Really? Xueqi was overjoyed and said with a smile, "Master has really surprised me. After not seeing each other for 200 years, it's really. 200 years can change a person's state of mind, 200 years can also change a person's strength, but 200 years can't change a person's nature." Xueqi looked at the starry sky and sighed word by word. Chapter 44-33. Only until here did Xueqi suddenly discover that Xueqi's tone was different. He was startled in his heart and hurriedly knelt down and said, "Master, this disciple has failed Master's great trust. Nearly half of the Fortune Gate's disciples were killed. Disciple has let Master down." Xueqi flicked his sleeves, not allowing Xueqi to kneel. Instead, he said indifferently, "This matter has already passed. Master also does not intend to blame you all for this matter. Although more than half of our Fortune Gate's disciples were killed, Bai Qingyu's demonic beast clans were almost annihilated, and the heaven-concealing ridge and ancient Bell Mountain were also taken over by our Fortune Gate. These disciples have already been avenged." Unfortunately, Xueqi still didn't dare to get up. He still lowered his head and said, "Master, this disciple knows that you are blaming this disciple for not taking the lives of the Soaring Dragon Mountain Range's disciples seriously. Actually, disciple wanted to come to Bai Qingyu alone that day, but disciple knew that with disciple's strength, it would be extremely difficult to rescue Master. Disciple could only rely on the strength of Soaring Dragon Mountain Range's disciples to have a sliver of hope to rescue Master. Of course, even if they managed to save their Master, the lives of these tens of thousands of disciples would definitely be left behind in Bai Qingyu's hands. However, disciple has already made it clear to Master that disciple is not a good teacher, but I am definitely a good state preceptor. Disciple is willing to bear the infamy to save Master. After all, his Master's life was more valuable than the lives of tens of thousands of disciples in the Soaring Dragon Mountain Range. With a Master, he could create a new Soaring Dragon Mountain Range, or even 2 or 3 new Soaring Dragon Mountain Ranges. But without Master, this Soaring Dragon Mountain Range would not last for long. Therefore, at the Fortune Dao Palace, the disciples did not hesitate to fall out with them. They insisted that the disciples of the Soaring Dragon Mountain Range risk their lives to save Master. This is disciple's fault. Disciple is no longer qualified to manage the Fortune Gate's affairs. Disciple is willing to fulfill his filial piety in front of Master, and atone for the deaths of the tens of thousands of disciples. Xueqi silently looked at Xueqi. After listening to his words, his heart was filled with mixed feelings. Xueqi was originally soft-hearted and not good at planning, so he was not the first choice to be the sect leader. In Huang Xiaolong's opinion, he would rather give up his life than let several tens of thousands of Fortune Gate disciples save him. However, what Xueqi said was correct. After all, as the leader of a sect, he had to be far-sighted, decisive, and even decisive. This is what Xueqi lacks. And the Xueqi in front of him was precisely such a talent. He knew how important Xueqi was. For the sake of the Fortune Gate's future, Xueqi was willing to sacrifice tens of thousands of Soaring Dragon Mountain Range's disciples. This action could be considered cold-blooded and callous, but it was also where Xueqi stood out from the crowd. It was an extremely calm and wise choice. And now, seeing that Xueqi's tone was unkind, Xueqi had already keenly sensed Xueqi's displeasure. He knew that he might have chosen to go against Xueqi's benevolence because of this. Without waiting for Xueqi to say anything, he immediately took the initiative to admit his guilt. However, Xueqi still thought too much. Xueqi didn't think about it at all. If it wasn't for Xueqi's reminder, he really didn't know that Xueqi was under so much pressure. Disciple. Xueqi thinks for a moment and says, "Master knows that I am not a qualified sect leader. Not good at the trifling matters of the sect, not good at the development of the sect, and not good at winning over people's hearts. Therefore, when I met you, I said that I would give you a chance to display your talents. I wanted to let the sect that I had created flourish in your hands. Your choice. I have no way to judge it. From the bottom of my heart, Master does not agree. Master feels that everyone's life is equally important, and there should be no distinction between importance and importance. But in reality, what you did was correct. If it wasn't for me, there would be no Soaring Dragon Mountain Range's Fortune Gate, and there wouldn't be the current Fortune Gate's disciples. You used the lives of tens of thousands of disciples in exchange for my life. There is nothing wrong with that. Therefore, disciple, you can rest assured that the Fortune Gate will still be yours in the future. Not only will you have to deal with the Fortune Gate's affairs, Master will also let you do. Before Xiaohua could finish, Xueqi hurriedly interjected, Master, you think too highly of disciple. Not to mention senior brothers Xian Songzi and Taoist Master Jing Ting. Even junior brothers Lu Yi, Fu Jiwen, and the others' cultivations are much higher than disciples. How can disciples shoulder such a heavy responsibility? Strength is strength, ability is ability. Not every Grand Ascension stage cultivator is a good sect leader. Not every sect leader has to have an extremely high cultivation base. Xiaohua's mood improved, and he smiled. However, your words have reminded Master that you have to think about how to develop the Fortune Gate in the future for Master. Every time Master thinks about it, it gives Master a headache. Xueqi smiled bitterly. Master, it's not that disciple doesn't want to think about it, but the Fortune Gate's development is too fast. Disciple was still thinking about how to arrange for those golden core disciples when Master suddenly sent over 200,000 6th grade disciples. Much stronger than disciple. Disciple was caught unprepared. Moreover, disciple had never thought that our Tao Gate could be established on the hidden immortal mainland and become such a big sect. Disciple, don't worry, take your time to think. We have time, we have strength, and there will be opportunities in the future. Xiaohua comforted, as long as what you do is beneficial to the Fortune Gate, Master will support you. Then, Xueqi was relieved when he heard that. Seeing that Xiaohua's mood had improved, he asked tentatively, Master, your words just now. What did you mean? I'm sure you already know what I told Ao Zhantian earlier. Back then, I saved many Taoist sect cultivators on the Yaotai Mountain. Xiaohua thought for a moment when he saw Xueqi's reaction. Xiaohua roughly explained the situation to Xueqi before saying, however, I didn't expect that these cultivators would actually jump out at the first sign of trouble and try to benefit from it. So that's how it is. Xueqi laughed and said, didn't Master say before? A good sect leader doesn't necessarily have a good cultivation. In fact, in terms of winning people's hearts and expanding one's influence, one doesn't necessarily have to rely on absolute strength. Although Master's strength is powerful, it can only convince people on the surface, but not in their hearts. Once something happens to Master, some people will definitely jump out. Only a small portion of people are loyal, and the majority can only be used. Even if Master wants to use these forces, Master still has to use methods. Using kindness and coercion is one way, and using the advantages and disadvantages is another way. Master probably doesn't care about these methods. However, Master, you should be happy as well. According to senior brother Ao Zhantian, there are many Tao sect cultivators who are disloyal, but not many of them are willing to do so. There are many Tao sect cultivators, and even the Dragon Tribe and Demon Tribe cultivators who have come to rescue Master. Alas, cultivation is still easier. Xiaohua waved his hand and said, these scheming things are too tiring. Master, you're a transcendent being, so you don't have to worry so much. Disciple and the others are different, and we can't not consider so many things. Xueqi smiled bitterly. Xiaohua smiled, and asked again, Disciple, you said that the Fortune Gate Palace has different opinions about coming to the Thousand Demons Sacred Realm to rescue Master? Xueqi didn't hide it, and nodded and said yes. Some junior brothers think that the foundation of the Soaring Dragon Mountain Range is important, and even if we go to Bai Qingyu, we'll just be throwing our lives away, so they don't want the Soaring Dragon Mountain Range disciples to come and rescue us. At this point, Xueqi hurriedly explained, of course this idea is not wrong. After all, senior brother Ao Zhantian, Zhang Daoran, esteemed Sun Kong, and senior Zhai Xingzi all have the same idea. They want to rely on their own strength and not give up all their strength. Does Changyu also have the same idea? Xiaohua couldn't help but ask. No. Xueqi answered without hesitation. Junior brother Changyu is the one who supports his disciples the most. If it weren't for the fact that his disciples are all weak, he would have brought all of them. Then what about the disciples he brought? Xiaohua asked. Most of the disciples he brought are senior brother Li Xiang's. Xueqi explained, although he isn't particularly familiar with these disciples, they are still much stronger than his own disciples. It's a pity that junior brother Changyu was unlucky and didn't get to meet Master. Disciple, can you tell me about the Fortune Gate Palace's situation, and the soaring Dragon Mountain range to buy Qingyu? Xiaohua's expression didn't change, and he asked again. Of course. Xueqi was a little suspicious, and he smiled apologetically. However, Master, disciple might not remember clearly. It's best to ask senior brother Li Xiang and junior brother Lan to fill in the gaps. No matter. Xiaohua smiled. These are all things of the past. Go ahead and tell me. Master will ask them in the future. That's good. Xueqi nodded and recounted everything. When he finished, Xiaohua nodded and said, It's not easy for all of you. It's not wrong for everyone to make different choices. Go back to the Kunlun immortal realm and cultivate well. Oh, don't forget. Help Master think about how to develop the Fortune Gate in the future. In the future, Master will rely on your ability to bring the Fortune Gate to greater heights. Yes, Master. Xueqi bowed respectfully and was immediately sent into the Shenhua continent by Xiaohua. Fellow Taoist Wu, how is it? Xiaohua put away the Kunlun mirror and looked at the side where Xueqi was previously standing. Taoist Wu's figure appeared. He looked at Xiaohua and said, There are no changes in the soul. If I'm not mistaken, what Xueqi said is the truth. Of course, human nature is the most complicated thing in the world. I can't guarantee that all soul techniques will succeed. If what Xueqi said is true, then I's suspicion of Changyu was wrong. Xiaohua's face turned cold. Then there's only one possibility left. Xian Ping didn't recognize Changyu before, and Changyu didn't collude with Shui Mingzi. Xian Ping had seen Changyu in his nascent soul state after abandoning his physical body. If Changyu didn't see difficulties on the way to buy Qingyu and changed his mind, then there's something wrong with Changyu's death. So complicated. Taoist Wu was puzzled. No wonder people's hearts are unpredictable. Fellow Taoist, you should ask fellow Taoist Wen Chu to come over and give you advice. I's better off cultivating. Chapter 44-34. Haha, alright. Xiaohua laughed. Go ahead, fellow Taoist. Everything will come to light one day. Let's wait and see. Just as Taoist Witch was about to leave, Xiaohua suddenly thought of something and asked Taoist Witch in a low voice. Taoist Witch frowned and left after a few answers. Alas, man's ego is always higher than the sky. Xiaohua sighed as he watched Taoist Witch disappear. If not for this ego, how could there be cultivators among the human race? If not for this ego, how could there be immortals in this world? But it's also because of this ego that there are too many disturbances, too much chaos and too much suffering in this world. After saying that, Xiaohua fell silent for a moment and took out the Kunlun mirror. As the light beam flashed, Ao Shang was pulled out from the Shenhua continent. Needless to say, Ao Shang was even more surprised by the starlight in the sky. However, Xiaohua was not in a good mood and ignored him. After Ao Shang finished muttering and saw that Xiaohua did not say anything, he immediately lowered his head and asked cautiously, Dragon Master Xiao, why did you call me out? I've already promised you that I'll bring you out to experience and improve your strength. Xiaohua glanced at Ao Shang, who had finally calmed down, and said, Actually, the experience is secondary. The most important thing is, my good friend, Taoist Yun, has some opportunities. This opportunity has something to do with you. Taoist Yun wants to return some of this opportunity to you. Ao Shang was confused and asked curiously, Dragon Master Xiao, what you're saying? I don't seem to understand. Haha, it doesn't matter if you understand now. A rare smile appeared on Xiaohua's face. You all took the risk to come to the Thousand Demons Sacred Realm to rescue me. I must repay this kindness. As for what Taoist Yun gave you, you may not know now, and you may not know in the future. But when you do know, just think about what I said today. Yes, Dragon Master Xiao. Ao Sheng nodded and said respectfully, I understand. Dragon Master Xiao's kindness to me, and even to the dragon race, will be engraved in my heart. Xiaohua nodded and activated the Kunlun mirror in his hand. Under the light, Daoist Yun flew out of the space. After hearing Xiaohua's voice transmission, Daoist Yun shook his head and said, Daoist, isn't Ao Shang going to the Star Moon Palace with us? If he were to enter the Kunlun immortal realm to cultivate now, he would probably fall into a deep sleep first. Then, he would miss out on the opportunity to enter the Star Moon Palace. Yun's Daoist Yun, he said, patted his forehead. I've been too hasty. I've forgotten about the Star Moon Palace. Ao Shang looked at Xiaohua and did not dare to say anything. Star Moon Palace was a matter of great importance. How could Xiaohua forget about it? Daoist, Daoist Yun, Daoist, Daoist, Daoist B. Daoist Daoist to Dao Daoist Daoist to him to break. Daoist, Daoist, Daoist Daoist forget. You, Daoist ist. Daoist. Daoist you. I'll always be the old hen who protects her children. Xiaohua said self-deprecatingly, even if I become an immortal, I'm afraid these disciples will still be in my heart, let alone a Mahayana. This is a blessing for us disciples. Ao Sheng finally understood something and said respectfully, this disciple will be like Xiao Longshu and continue this love. Haha, good. Xiaohua laughed and clapped his hands. To be able to hear the word love from the mouth of a dragon, I've reaped the rewards of my efforts. If that's the case, we'll talk about this later. Daoist, please go back. Daoist. Daoist Yun suggested again. It will take some time to reach the Star Moon Palace. Why don't I teach Ao Shang some secret techniques of the dragon race? It can also lay a foundation for his future cultivation. I'll leave this to you, Daoist. Xiaohua said with a smile. Actually, Dragon Master. Should be yours. Well said. Daoist Yun nodded. Daoist, please open a mystic realm in Kunlun Immortal Realm so that Ao Shang can cultivate in it. Xiaohua understood what Daoist Yun meant. He shook the Kunlun mirror and sent Daoist Yun and Ao Shang to a void above Shenhua continent, where the two dragons could do whatever they wanted. As Daoist sorcerer had yet to return, Xiaohua simply brought Blackie and Goldie out of the void and talked to them while waiting. Although Goldie had already told Xiaohua about his experience in the past 200 years, it was still too simple. Now that there was no one else around, Goldie's chatterbox was opened again, jumping up and down on Xiaohua's body while talking. Blackie stood obediently on one of Xiaohua's shoulders, occasionally interrupting and correcting him, but most of the time, he just listened. Looking at the two cute little things with their own distinct characteristics, Xiaohua's heart was overflowing with fatherly love. He used his hand to touch the two little things' warm fur. Feeling the attachment of the two little things, he was deeply moved again. Others might not know how powerful Di Ting and the heaven-devouring beast were, but he knew them very well. Even though they were severely injured, they were still not something that a human Mahayana realm cultivator could handle. It was hard to imagine that these two powerful demon beasts looked like this when they were young. However, Xiaohua also understood that although Blackie and Goldie had the bloodlines of Di Ting and the heaven-devouring beast, they still had a long way to go before they could cultivate to the same level as them. The blood crystals Xiaohua obtained from the heaven-devouring beast and Di Ting were the starting point of this path. 4 hours later, Daoist sorcerer finally returned. Xiaohua's heart skipped a beat when he saw Daoist sorcerer's slightly gloomy face. How was it? What did I get? Is I right? I can't tell if fellow Daoist's guess is correct or not. Daoist Wu replied indifferently. There's a restriction in the souls of Daoist Qing Su, Daoist Fantian, and the other Daoist cultivators. Although I can break it, I'm afraid of alerting them and messing up fellow Daoists' arrangements, so I can't know the true intentions of the primordial chaos ancestor. I can't tell if these subordinates of the Grand Mist ancestor are sincere in helping the Fortune Gate or if they have ulterior motives. It's fine. Xiaohua's heart relaxed and he waved his hand. The truth will come out one day. If the Grand Mist ancestor doesn't have any ulterior motives and is sincere in helping the Fortune Gate, I will repay him generously. If he has ulterior motives, would I be afraid of him? Daoist sorcerer nodded and said, although I didn't find anything in the souls of Venerable Fantian and the others, I found the magic treasure that fellow Daoist gave to Chong Yu in Daoist Master Qing Su's spatial pouch. Oh? Xiaohua raised his eyebrows and a cold smile appeared on his face. This is interesting. Could it be that Daoist Master Qing Su has something to do with Chong Yu's death? Xueqi raised his head and looked at the sky, muttering to himself, but this magic treasure alone doesn't prove anything. Perhaps Taoist Master Qing Su picked it up on the road. Or perhaps Taoist Master Qing Su met with danger together with Chongyu and Prince Lan. Chongyu sacrificed his life to protect Prince Lan, and the magic treasure was lost after he self-destructed. Taoist Master Qing Su picked up the magic treasure and didn't return it to Prince Lan. What if there is another magic treasure? Taoist sorcerer raised his hand and there was a ball of green light in his palm. Inside the ball of light, there was a faint soul that looked like a small person sleeping peacefully. Ah! Xueqi was shocked. When he saw that the small person inside was Chongyu, he was wild with joy. His mind rolled, and Chongyu's soul that was about to disappear immediately fell into it. Xueqi looked at it and didn't dare to be negligent. He released the netherworld origin power again, and carefully sent this soul into the inside of the space. Just like Fairy Jing's soul, it was placed at the root of the netherworld fruit tree. After everything was done, Xueqi heaved a sigh of relief. He looked at Taoist sorcerer in bewilderment and said, "Didn't Chongyu self-destruct his nascent soul? Where did you get his soul? Even if there is a primordial spirit imprint in his magic treasure, that shouldn't be enough to preserve his 3 souls and 6 spirits, right?" Haha. Taoist sorcerer laughed and said, "Speaking of this, you should thank I properly. Tell me in detail." Taoist sorcerer. Xueqi still didn't understand. Taoist sorcerer explained, "Do you still remember when you took Chongyu as your disciple under Yaotai Mountain?" Of course. Xueqi thought for a moment and still didn't understand. What's so strange about it? What does this have to do with you? That day, you discovered that Chongyu's cultivation method was changed by a Confucian cultivator, right? Yes. Xueqi nodded matter-of-factly. At that time, I changed the cultivation method and passed it to him. At this point, Xueqi slapped his forehead and came to a realization. That's right, that cultivation method wasn't changed by I myself. It was changed by Taoist Thunderbolt. Yes, the cultivation method was changed by Taoist Thunderbolt, but the original cultivation method had a heavy impact on the Tao Foundation. If he didn't cultivate it again, it was impossible to reach the body integration realm. Taoist Thunderbolt thought for a long time and felt that changing the Tao Sex Dharma spells only treated the symptoms but not the root cause. Therefore he asked I to change it, hoping that the soul spell could solve the root cause. I added some soul cultivation content in this cultivation method. Oh, this soul cultivation content is similar to the remnant copy of the primordial spirit that Taoist Thunderbolt obtained before. Chongyu was probably very lucky. When he cultivated the cultivation method, he was proficient in this part of the soul spell. When he sacrificially refined the Dharma treasure, he used this part of the divine ability and placed a part of his primordial spirit in his natal Dharma treasure. Therefore, when Chongyu self-destructed, he must have thought of hiding his primordial spirit in his natal Dharma treasure. Taoist sorcerer explained. Of course, Chongyu's half-baked method of placing his primordial spirit was not enough to preserve his primordial spirit. However, the Dharma treasure that Taoist Thunderbolt gave him was not ordinary. It was an original Dharma treasure in Taoist Thunderbolt space. There was another universe inside that could temporarily preserve his primordial spirit. In addition, Chongyu died not long ago, so Taoist Qing Su didn't have time to sacrifice himself. This allowed Chongyu's 3 souls and 6 spirits to be preserved. Chapter 44-35. Good boy, good boy. Xueqi clapped and laughed. Chongyu must be a loyal and righteous person. Otherwise, how could the heavenly Tao be so kind to him? Although he has cultivated to the nascent soul realm, his future is limited. Now that his fate with this world has been severed, his soul has been preserved, and he has the method of entrusting his primordial spirit, so his memories of this life should be preserved. From now on, he will be reborn in the Shenhua continent, similar to the Buddhist sect's reincarnation. From now on, his cultivation path will be smooth. Even if he can't preserve his memories and cultivation techniques on the Shenhua continent, he will have a better future than he does now. Taoist Witch agreed. That's right, that's right. Xueqi nodded and bowed. I thank you on behalf of Chongyu. If you hadn't arrived in time, his soul would have dissipated in the air after a while. He wouldn't even have the chance to reincarnate. You're welcome. Taoist which returned the greeting. Your disciple is also I's disciple. What's there to thank me for? However, Chong Yu's 3 souls and 6 spirits are already damaged and need to be repaired on the underworld fruit tree. I can't ask him more. Otherwise, the truth of the matter would be easily known. Haha, the so-called truth of the matter is really not worth mentioning compared to Chong Yu's matter. Xiaohua laughed. Since I have already been alerted, the truth will appear sooner or later. You should go back and rest first. All right, I will take my leave. Taoist which cupped his hands and returned to the space. Xiaohua stood there and looked into the distance. The smile in his eyes slowly disappeared, and a faint frost hung on his face. He snorted coldly. At any time, a choice means a loss, and different choices mean different losses. Since you have made a choice, what you have lost has become reality. After saying that, Xiaohua didn't put the 2 little ones into the space. He moved his body and headed east. After a few hours, the sky was bright. However, there wasn't much of a difference between night and day in the 1,000 Demons' sacred realm. The sky was filled with stars, and all of them were clamoring to compete with the sun. After an entire day, the sun very uninterestedly set from the east to the west. If someone didn't look directly at the sky, they wouldn't be able to see the sun's shadow. This situation lasted for 81 days and nights. Then, the curtains slowly came to an end. The starry sky dimmed once more, and the starlight gradually dimmed. At this point, the boundlessly jubilant 1,000-beast sacred realm finally fell silent again. The demons who had benefited all went into seclusion to refine the power of the stars and moons that could only be obtained in 100 or even 1,000 years. What was special was that the star power that the Phoenix Parasol drew upon was extremely pure and of extremely high quality. It was extremely beneficial for many demons to break through their bottlenecks. This starlight banquet directly caused the overall strength of the 1,000 Demons' sacred realm to increase. Xiaohua did not care about this star-moon banquet. He knew in his heart that no matter how much the demon race of the 1,000 Demons' sacred realm benefited, the biggest winner was still Feng Wu of the Great Sage Temple. He only flew towards the east of the 1,000 Demons' sacred realm to search for traces of the Bright Moon Palace. Although Yingbo of the Continuous Merchant Alliance had received Dou Shanjun's message and even received some information about Zhai Xinglu, the Continuous Merchant Alliance was too inexperienced after all. They did not know the specific time and location of the Star Moon Palace's appearance. What made Xiaohua even more puzzled was that there were some Zhai Xinglu in the 1,000 Demons' sacred realm. However, for some reason, these Zhai Xinglu had all disappeared in the past 100 years. The Continuous Merchant Alliance's ability was not enough to find the reason for the disappearance. However, Xiaohua did not particularly care. After all, other than the demon race, there were only humans who coveted the opportunities of the Star Moon Palace. As long as he went to the east of the 1,000 Demons' sacred realm and saw a human, wouldn't he just need to ask around and find out? Xiaohua did not believe that with his status as a human Mahayana realm cultivator, he could not even find out this information. Moreover, Xiaohua believed that Zhai Xinglu would have some arrangements in the east of the 1,000 Demons' sacred realm. Dou Shanjun alone could give the Jade Eyes to Yingbo in advance. How could he not have predicted his arrival? Unfortunately, Xiaohua still underestimated the vastness of the 1,000 Demons' sacred realm. He had been flying towards the east for dozens of days and saw the demon realms below him one after another. Some were continuous mountains, some were crisscrossing paths, some were deep ravines, and some were filled with lakes. He did not see anything special. He also encountered many demon races. There were great demons, demon kings, sun devourer, and heaven devourer. However, these demon races did not know about the Star Moon Palace, nor did they know where Zhai Xinglu was. On this day, they arrived at another place with water. This swamp was slightly different from what Xiaohua had seen previously. Not only was this swamp huge, but even though he did not release his divine thought, he could not see the edge of this swamp. Moreover, there were many rivers on the left side of the swamp. These rivers were like jade ribbons that wrapped around the swamp. Many water races lived in these rivers. Occasionally, there would be some water races that had gained sentience and would fight in groups. Looking at the many rivers, he saw that they all originated from a mountain range thousands of miles away from the swamp. This mountain range was also very tall. The mountain peaks that stretched for thousands of miles were covered in white snow. Many thin streams were formed from the mountain range and slowly flowed down. When they converged into a river, they flowed through the plains at the foot of the mountain and became a majestic river. These hundreds of thousands of rivers strangely surrounded the entire swamp, and the river water flowed into it continuously. There were many islands in the swamp. Some were several acres in size, while others were several miles in size. The islands were either rugged like rocks or lush like forests. Occasionally, there were flocks of waterbirds flying above the swamp. There were also schools of fish swimming on the surface of the water. Although there wasn't the fragrance of fish and rice, Xueqi couldn't help but slow down when his gaze swept across the lake and mountain scenery. However, just as Xueqi flew into the swamp, between the swamp and the snowy mountain range in the distance, boom boom, a series of explosions suddenly sounded. Then, he saw a light that soared into the sky, illuminating the already dim sky. The Thousand Demons' sacred realm was not like the hidden immortal continent, nor was it like the Western paradise. Ordinary fights between the demon race could be found everywhere. During the period when Fengwu attracted the power of 10,000 stars, all the demon race were focused on absorbing the power of the stars and did not have time to fight. Then, Xueqi flew in the Thousand Demons' sacred realm. Other than the beautiful scenery, what he saw was bloody fights. Compared to the time when Xueqi followed Shui Mingzi and the others to buy Qingyu, they encountered a lot more killing. Xueqi didn't pay any attention to the fights between the demon race unless he saw that a demon race member really wanted to perish together with him. Only then would Xueqi release his aura to disperse the demon race member. The rest would just fly past him. However, when this light landed in Xueqi's eyes, it was so familiar. Xueqi could not help but chuckle. Previously, I was talking to Zhai Xingzi about the 4 joys of a Confucian cultivator's life. Today, I met an old friend in a foreign land. It's really interesting. However, when he released his divine sense and saw the situation in the distance, he could not help but be stunned again. He almost said to himself in surprise, "Oh, she. How could she be here?" Thousands of miles away, it was where several rivers intersected. These rivers were like ancient trees in a dense forest, entangled together. In the several hundred acres of water area, there were dozens of tributaries that sometimes flowed to the west and sometimes to the north. It was impossible to distinguish which tributary flew out from which river. In the sky above this water area, there were 3 balls of holy light that kept churning. Among these 3 balls of light, there were 2 big ones and 1 small one. The big one was several hundred zhong in size, and the small one was only several hundred zhong in size. Regardless of the size, these balls of light were different from the light of the moon and stars. They were abnormally pure. Moreover, every strand of light from these balls of light would send out strands of awe-inspiring qi in the air. A kind of feeling that made one's heart calm involuntarily arose. Looking inside the balls of light, there were 3 light beasts with dragon heads, qilin bodies, cow hooves, and lion-like tails. Weren't they the ones Xueqi met in the Bronze Pillar country in his early years? The male and female light beasts in the balls of light were no different from before. The light beast's cub was 1 size bigger. Below their feet, there were many clouds floating in the air. These clouds changed from time to time. Gold rui, silver rui, dragon balls, and gold ingots appeared as if they were real, appearing and disappearing in the sky. At this time, the 3 light beasts were standing in the air and roaring. Although the pure brilliance made one feel at ease, the brilliance was like a flame rolling in the sky, revealing the anger of the 3 light beasts. Several li in front of the light beasts' heads, there was a hawk owl thousands of zhong in size, flapping its wings and coldly looking at them. Wasn't this the venerable Master 9 Firmaments that Xueqi met that day? However, at this time, venerable Master 9 Firmaments had already transformed into a hawk owl. The hawk owl's body was huge, and its feathers were like iron. Waves of demonic qi overflowed from the gaps of its feathers, spreading in all directions. The faint power of the moon and stars also flashed around the hawk owl's body. It was indescribably valiant, and it was definitely not the appearance Xueqi saw that day. Below the hawk owl, above the water, there was a catfish thousands of zhong in size. It also emitted a dense demonic qi, twisting its huge demonic body at low altitude. The surface of the catfish's body was not covered with ordinary scales. As its demonic body swayed, waves of ripples flowed on the surface of its body. Occasionally, the demonic qi would disperse, and a layer of glossy and sinister black light would be reflected in the dusk along with the ripples. Moreover, when the catfish flapped its huge tail, there was a faint rumbling sound at low altitude. The water below the catfish's body also had waves of several zhang in size. Although there were only 3 light beasts, the hawk owl and the catfish were not the only ones. Behind the 2 demonic beasts, there were thousands of flying demonic beasts and water demonic beasts, holding various demonic artifacts in their hands. They rode demonic clouds and scattered in the air and water. Their gazes all fell on the light beasts, and there was no fear in their eyes. Chapter 44-36. Light Beast. The sparrow hawk flapped its wings, causing the wind to howl. It seemed to be demonstrating and encouraging. Its slightly hoarse voice sounded in the wind. "Don't go too far. Back then, I did offend you and took your child away. But I had my reasons. As soon as I had the chance to return to the Thousand Demons' sacred realm, I immediately asked a familiar great demon to go to the light demon realm to plead for mercy. Not only did you not accept my apology, but you also injured that great demon, causing me to compensate him with a lot of things. After that, I sent my subordinates to the light demon realm many times to offer things, just to get your forgiveness. But not only did you not accept the things, you even killed my subordinates. Did I think that I couldn't get your forgiveness even if I compromised? Now that you've chased me to the water wave demon realm, do you really want to kill all of us without leaving a trace of mercy?" Ayo. The huge catfish also cried from below. "Light beast, listen to me. We did offend you back then. But think about it, how many people in the Thousand Demons' sacred realm would be willing to offend you? Why did we have to find trouble with you? We were forced into a dead end, so we had no choice but to take the risk. Besides, your little brat was captured by us, and we served him carefully. We didn't abuse him, nor did we offer him to the Demon King. Think about it, if he wasn't in our hands, but in the hands of humans or other demon clans, would he still be alive?" Roar. The light beast roared. Its appearance changed, and it said coldly, "Those who humiliate us light beasts must be killed." Humph. The other light beast cried out in the distance. "It's not wrong for you to want to get out of this predicament. But you can think of your own way. Why do you have to use our lives as a bargaining chip? And you knew that we were seriously injured, but you still set up an ambush to lure us into a trap. How can a few things and an apology make up for such sinister intentions?" Kill. The light beast roared and stomped its front hooves forward. The cloud of gold and agate immediately emitted a murderous aura. Flames gushed out from the light beast and rushed towards Catfish. At this moment, Hawk Owl anxiously shouted, "Wait!" The light beast smiled coldly. The light sword was flashing under his feet. He said, "Master Zhou Shao, do you have anything else to say? To tell you the truth, even if you can make Tai Shu blossom today, this old man will not let you go." Hawk Owl seemed to be stalling for time. He screamed, "It's just a life and death struggle. What's so great about that? I just want to ask you a question." "Speak." The light beast said coldly. "Light beast, do you know who Ding Buxing of your light beast clan is? It's because you guys are too stubborn and don't know how to be flexible. As long as you set your mind on something, you'll definitely do it." Yan Xiao said, "With your personality, who knows how many demons you've offended in the Thousand Demons' sacred realm? Back then, wasn't that why you were injured? Today, it's time for us to die, so we're not afraid of offending you. If you think these words have any value, why don't you start from today and—" "Shut up!" The light beast roared and shouted, "As long as there's light, there's no fear of darkness. As long as there's justice, there's no fear of evil. If we live in darkness, what's the point of talking about light? If this old man tolerates your ugliness, how can this old man be called the light beast? Although we light beasts don't have many clansmen, there's justice in heaven and earth. My light beast clan won't go extinct. That's because, no matter how dark the world is, light will always exist." After it finished speaking, the light beast let out a loud roar, and its entire body shone brightly. Circles of heart-shaped light emerged from the light beast's body and spread out in all directions. In just a short moment, the space within a few dozen miles was filled with a pure and holy energy. When the light landed on Yen Xiao and Catfish's bodies, it emitted a sizzling sound. The black flames and demonic qi around the two demons were mostly wiped out by this light. Not only that, the light penetrated the black flames and pierced into the two demons' bodies like needles. Catfish's shiny body actually produced clusters of light spots. Raw. The two demons seemed to be in pain. They twisted their bodies and roared loudly. The water under Catfish's body surged up to 100 feet high wave. Ha! The light beast laughed loudly. Did you see that? How can light coexist with darkness? While laughing, the light beast suddenly kicked out the bull leg that had been brewing for a long time. Whoa! Amidst the whistling of the wind, the auspicious cloud mixed with a beam of light transformed into a huge shadow and fell towards Catfish. Wherever the cloud passed, layers of space would crack. Before the shadow could get close to Catfish, the surface of Catfish's body began to tremble violently. Circles of ripples began to spread out from the surface of Catfish's body. Damn it! Seeing that the light beast was so powerful after its injury was healed, and that just a casual stomp of its hoof was already so powerful, far beyond its expectation, Catfish couldn't help but curse inwardly. Its huge monster body swayed, and its tail, which was even bigger than a mountain, appeared in front of Catfish from a low altitude. Boom! The shadow of the light beast's hoof stomped on Catfish's tail, and in the midst of a huge explosion, the shadow of the light hoof was shattered. The auspicious clouds turned into countless ingots and scattered in the air, and the light of the light beast disappeared along with the ingots. Ah! It seemed that Catfish had the upper hand, but then he roared again. Because where the shadow of light disappeared, a huge mark of light was imprinted on Catfish's tail. This mark seemed to be engraved on his tail. Not only was it unusually clear, but it was also seeping into Catfish's body. The demon qi on Catfish's body sizzled and disappeared rapidly. A faint blood-red light also rose from the mark. Unfortunately, Hawk Owl had no time to care about Catfish. The moment the light beast stepped out of the shadow of the light hoof, he opened his mouth. Whoa! A beam of light more than 10 feet in size shot out from his mouth and rushed towards Hawk Owl. This beam of light was even more ferocious than the light hoof. Wherever it went, the space would shatter. Moreover, where the space shattered, a lot of noble qi would fall into the beam of light. Before the beam of light even reached Hawk Owl, the feathers on his body had already begun to stand up. Hawk Owl let out a sharp cry and spat out demon qi from his mouth. His wings flapped, and pitch-black lightning also surged towards the beam of light. Puff, puff, puff. A series of muffled sounds rang out in the air. When the beam of light fell into the demon qi and lightning, it directly pierced through them like a hot knife through butter. Furthermore, the beam of light didn't slow down at all. It hit Hawk Owl and caused him to stagger. Several of his feathers fluttered in the air, making him look rather miserable. Humph. Seeing that the two demon beasts were unable to withstand a mere probing attack, the light beast snorted coldly. Back then, you took advantage of this old man's heavy injuries to scheme and humiliate this old man. Today, this old man will show you the power of this light beast. As it spoke, the light beast's horn began to produce bright and dark runes. These runes began to attract a boundless amount of righteous qi. When the righteous qi descended, many beautiful syllables began to appear in the air. Then, the light beast's body flashed, and like a meteor, it pounced towards the sparrow hawk. Damn it! Hawk Owl cursed under his breath. The demon qi around his body became even denser. Following which, he flapped his wings and countless stars and moon energy fell from the sky. Hawk Owl let out another long cry, and a demon rune several feet in size appeared between his eyebrows. Just as this demon rune appeared, boom! A beam of moonlight and starlight crashed into it. The demon rune also shone brightly and turned into a layer of starlight that fell on Hawk Owl's body. The starlight sank into the demon qi, and the demon qi around Hawk Owl's body suddenly tumbled. Starting from the top of his head, all the demon qi mixed with the moonlight turned into a pitch-black demon armor that protected his body. In the span of a few breaths after the demon armor was formed, the radiant beast's dragon horn, which carried a majestic aura, passed through space and landed in front of the sparrow hawk. Seeing that there was no way for the sparrow hawk to dodge, the sparrow hawk decided to face the attack head-on. Boom, boom, boom. The dragon horns hit the demon armor, and with a loud bang, the demon armor broke inch by inch, turning into fist-sized demon runes. These demon runes were also destroyed by the light beast's light runes. Not only was the demon armor destroyed, but the feathers below were also shot off. While Hawk Owl's body was flipped over, a light imprint that was more than 10 feet in size was engraved on his already exposed pitch-black demon body. Hawk Owl let out another cry, and like Catfish, his body began to tremble like a sieve. Kill! The other light beast saw that it had gained the upper hand and roared. Its body flew behind Catfish and Hawk Owl. Seeing the light beast move, the light beast's cub hurriedly jumped onto the light beast's back. Seeing the light beast's attack, the demon race of the water wave demon realm were very afraid, but they didn't dare to escape. They could only brace themselves and wave their demon weapons to meet the light beast's attack. However, even Hawk Owl and Catfish couldn't resist the light beast's light beam, so how could these little demons resist it? When the light beam fell, some of the demon race's demon weapons were destroyed, and some of the demon race were killed. Light beast! Hawk Owl shouted. Do you really want to force us to fight to the death? Fight to the death? The light beast sneered. You really know how to dream. You don't have the strength to fight to the death. You only have the strength of the moon-picking realm. If it wasn't for the fact that I have a grudge against you, I definitely wouldn't be bothered to make a move on you. Buzz buzz. As the light beast's voice fell, Hawk Owl and Catfish's bodies emitted a roaring sound at the same time. Thick demon chi gushed out from all parts of their bodies, and this demon chi was slightly different from before. Not only was the color darker, there were even some faint traces of blood in it, and part of the demon chi could even be turned into liquid. Under the demon chi, the light imprint on the two demons' bodies was washed away. Even the faces of the two demons looked ferocious in this demon chi. Chapter 44-37. Oh. This demonic aura is a little strange. The light beast's eyes narrowed slightly. While he was thinking to himself, his body emitted a dazzling light as he rushed toward Hawk Owl. At this moment, Hawk Owl and Catfish opened their mouths at the same time. 9 pitch-black stone tablets rushed out from their mouths. They were the 9 dragon tablets that had previously suppressed the light beast's infant. The power of these 9 dragon tablets was even stronger than before. As soon as they fell into the air, they immediately let out a huge roar. Boom boom boom. Black demonic aura gushed out from the tablets. This demonic aura condensed into 9 ferocious dragon children. Not only did their ferocious aura soar to the sky, but they also shrouded an area of dozens of miles. Kill! Hawk Owl and Catfish roared at the same time. Their demonic bodies shrunk by 30%. Waves of dense demonic aura guided the pillars of light into the 9 dragon tablets. The 9 dragon children's bodies grew bigger and bigger. Their faces were also unusually ferocious. They roared and pounced toward the light beast. The light beast's light that Hawk Owl and Catfish were so afraid of was actually devoured by the 9 dragon children. Haha! Seeing that it was the 9 dragon tablets again, the light beast was not afraid at all. He laughed and said, "You two reckless things. This is the dragon weapon of the Dragon Palace. How can you activate it? That day when I was seriously injured, the 9 dragon tablets could not do anything to me. How can you trap me now?" The moment the light beast finished speaking, it noticed that he was different from the previous time. He did not activate the heart-shaped brilliance. Instead, he controlled the Qilin-like demon body and twisted like a dragon body. The huge scales once again emitted a dark green brilliance. When the black energy of the 9 suns dragon tablet fell, a light pillar shot out from each of the scales. These light pillars charged into the black energy of the 9 suns dragon tablet, and instantly pierced thousands of holes into the 9 sons of the dragon clan. Ayo! The 9 dragon children roared in a low voice. However, their bodies became dimmer and dimmer. More than half of their ferocious aura was destroyed. Roar! The light beast let out another loud roar. Its body did not move as it spat out a ray of light toward one of the 9 dragon tablets. This ray of light was not considered dazzling. However, when it landed on the black aura, it had already destroyed the black aura that had been agglomerated. When the ray of light struck the dragon tablet, a loud bang sounded. The black aura on the dragon tablet was completely swept away, revealing a pitch-black dragon tablet. At this moment, the dragon runes engraved on the surface of the dragon tablet revealed a solemn, vast, and majestic aura. Looking at the dragon steel tumbling in the air, the light beast said coldly. Despicable thing, even if you have the dragon steel, you can't do anything noble. This dragon steel is a stain on the East Sea Dragon Palace compared to what you have refined. As he spoke, runes appeared on the light beast's dragon horns, and its figure charged towards the flaw in the Nine Suns dragon steel, preparing to kill Sparrow Hawk. At this moment, an arrogant voice suddenly sounded in the distant sky. Hee, Sparrow Hawk and Catfish have the Nine Suns dragon steel. Naturally, they are not your opponent, but what if I take it? Whew. The light beast was stunned. The light around its body immediately converged as it turned its head to look at the source of the voice. However, it saw that in the sky above the Nine Suns dragon steel, there were already layers of spatial ripples, and a powerful aura came out from the ripples. At the same time, clusters of black light shadows like small snakes also rushed out in all directions along with this aura. Dragon Clan? Feeling a somewhat familiar aura, the light beast was a little stunned. He whispered and roared at the light beast who was killing the water tribe in the water wave demon realm in the distance. Swoosh swoosh. Without waiting for the light beast's loud roar to land, the sky seemed to be boiling. Like a flood, black dragon patterns emerged from the light shadow and surged towards the Nine Suns dragon steels in the sky that had already dimmed with black energy. Boom boom boom. The dragon runes almost ignored the spatial distance and fell on the Nine Suns dragon steel. The Nine Suns dragon steel let out a different roar from before. The previous sound was purely the roar of the dragon weapon, but this roar was like a dragon's roar. Along with this dragon's roar, another dragon's roar that shook the wilderness came from the space. The light shadows in the sky shattered, and a pitch-black dragon flew out with bared fangs and brandished claws. As soon as this black dragon appeared, its dragon claws grabbed at the light beast. A faint brilliance appeared on the dragon claws, and a weak fluctuation fell on the Nine Suns dragon steel through the space. The Nine Suns dragon steel that was originally emitting a dragon's roar shook again. Layers of different fluctuations were emitted from it at the same time, completely sealing the space that originally had some flaws. Moreover, the dragon runes on the dragon steel began to float, flowing on the surface of the dragon steel. In just a moment, the Nine Suns dragon steel let out a crisp sound at the same time. Ka-ka. Like the sound of a shell breaking, the dragon steel turned into the Nine Suns of the Dragon Clan and flew in the air. The Nine Suns formed by the dragon steel looked no different from ordinary Dragon Clan. Not only were their faces ferocious, but their auras were also imposing. Even the dragon aura on their bodies was exactly the same. Whoa! Seeing the dragon steel turn into suns, demon monarch Kwang Chong let out a sinister laugh. He opened his mouth, and several dragon breaths fell. The Nine Suns became even more ferocious after receiving the dragon breaths. They roared and pounced at the light beast. Greetings to demon monarch Kwang Chong. Seeing the Dragon Clan appear and activate the Nine Suns dragon steel, Hawk Owl and Catfish both let out a sigh of relief. They hurriedly retreated, far away from the light beast, and shouted, "Fortunately, I didn't fail my mission and lured the light beast here. Ha ha ha." The Dragon Clan laughed loudly. The dragon aura around him mixed with black flames seemed to be able to tear the sky apart. You don't have to say any more. Since you were able to lure the light beast here, I won't pursue the crime of stealing the Nine Suns dragon steel. I'll also bestow this water ripple demon realm to you. In the future, you can freely enter and exit the Thousand Demons sacred realm. Yes. Thank you, demon monarch Kwang Chong. When Hawk Owl and Catfish heard this, they couldn't help but be overjoyed. They shouted again, "We will definitely help my king capture this light beast. I already know of your loyalty." The Dragon Clan laughed loudly. However, your strength is really not enough. It's better to retreat to the side. Yes. Although Hawk Owl and Catfish didn't understand why demon monarch Kwang Chong came alone, they didn't dare to ask anything. They activated their demon bodies to escape. Where do you think you're going? When demon monarch Kwang Chong appeared, the female light beast that was attacking the Water Clan had already sensed that something was amiss. She brought the young light beasts and was about to fly over to rendezvous with the male light beast. However, just as she was flying, demon monarch Kwang Chong had already activated the Nine Suns dragon steel to trap the light beast inside. How could the female light beast let Hawk Owl and Catfish escape in her rage? She abandoned the Water Clan and pounced towards Hawk Owl and Catfish. Clearly, she wanted to capture the two demons as bargaining chips. Kill. Hawk Owl and Catfish were naturally no match for the female light beast. If they went first, it was purely to alert demon monarch Kwang Chong. However, since the female light beast was attacking, they couldn't avoid it. The two demons roared angrily and activated their demon clouds to meet the female light beast from two different directions. It was also at this moment that several thin threads suddenly appeared in the space behind the female light beast. These thin threads were almost transparent, and they were not obvious in the somewhat dusky sky. However, these thin threads were very strange. Wherever the light beast's light reached, the space would be swept clean, and not even dust could fall. However, under the illumination of the light, these thin threads didn't reflect any brilliance. Instead, they floated down. What was special was that these thin threads didn't land on the female light beast, but on the young light beast on the female light beast's back. At this moment, the young light beast was gnashing its teeth and cheering for the female light beast. Clearly, it had suffered greatly at the hands of Hawk Owl and Catfish and wanted its mother to avenge it. Therefore, it didn't notice the thin threads landing at all. The thin threads looked like they were landing leisurely, but in reality, their speed was extremely fast. Just as the female light beast raised her head and was about to spit out a light beam, the first strand of thin threads had already wrapped around the young light beast's back. Roar! The female light beast spat out a light beam from her mouth, carrying the momentum of killing the water clan. Whoa! Catfish didn't dare to be negligent. It also opened its mouth and a pitch-black water beam surged towards the female light beast even more violently than the light beam. However, where the light beam landed, the pitch-black water beam was completely destroyed, and the light beam didn't slow down at all as it hit Catfish's body. Puff! With a muffled sound, the light beam struck Catfish's body, creating a dent that was at least several hundred feet in size. In the dent, countless demon chi condensed into a whirlpool to resist the light beam. Under the whirlpool, many strange demon runes appeared under the trembling skin of Catfish. While the demon runes drew the power of the stars and moon to resist the light beam, many of the light beams in the light beam were scattered by the thick layer of fat on Catfish's body. Although Catfish's huge body was tumbling at a low altitude, falling straight down for several miles, and even smashing out a large hole in the water with its tail, he was still able to fend off the murderous beam of light. Humph! The female light beast snorted coldly and lowered her head again. A ripple appeared on her curved dragon horn, and a thunderbolt that tore the void apart gradually appeared. Roar! Just as the female light beast was about to kill, the young light beast suddenly howled. The female light beast was shocked. How could she still care about killing the two demon clan members? She hurriedly turned her head to look at the young light beast. When she saw the young light beast's condition, not only was she shocked, but her eyes were also filled with fear and regret. At this time, there were more than a dozen cracks on the little light beast's back, and within these cracks, there were almost colorless light flashing. Looking at the sky above the little light beast, there were more than a dozen thin threads floating down. Child! Seeing that the young light beast didn't want to cry out in pain, but still couldn't help but cry out, the female light beast couldn't help but let out a low cry. How could she not know that these thin threads had already wrapped around the young light beast, and in order not to disturb her, the young light beast didn't want to cry out. Roar! The young light beast was still howling, and his eyes were filled with pain and grievance. It seemed that he didn't want to cry out. Mother, these things are really strange. This boy doesn't know when they fell. Chapter 44:38. The female light beast's eyes turned blood red, and the fear in her eyes disappeared. She opened her mouth, and with a roar a blood-red beam of light shot out, hitting the threads falling from the sky. Not only did the beam of light contain light, but it also contained blood-red threads and lightning. Where the beam of light landed, most of the threads were destroyed and turned into nothingness. Only a small portion was blown away and didn't break. However, the moment the beam of light appeared, it was like poking a hornet's nest. The threads that covered the sky began to fall. And these threads were different from before. Some carried black chi, some carried blood-red light, and some were even multicolored. Damn it! Qilin Spider King! The female light beast roared angrily, and the space within dozens of miles shook. You're also a sun-devouring realm demon king. How can you attack a child with intelligence? Woo-woo! A gust of wind whistled from where the silk landed, and a large amount of devil chi descended from the sky. Within the devil chi, several spider legs that were dozens of feet long stretched out, and then a huge spider that was hundreds of feet long and flashing with a gorgeous brilliance stretched out its head. This spider's abdomen was spitting out a large amount of spider silk, which poured down like a torrent of water. "Oh, yes, you're right. How can this king attack a child? This king only wanted to kill you. Who knew that this child was on your back? How could I know? Could this be the legendary accidental injury?" The Chilan Spider King's voice was a bit shrill, and there was a bit of cadence. "Besides, who knows if you're trying to push this little light beast out to block me? Oh, since you've said it, this king won't care what your intentions are." As the Chilan Spider King spoke, its abdomen flashed with light again. The thin thread that was originally embedded in the little light beast's body suddenly retracted. "Ah!" The little light beast cried out in pain. Because the thin thread had dragged the little light beast's body and cut it even more, the little light beast couldn't help but fly up, roar. As if the father and son were connected, the little light beast's cries attracted the attention of the male light beast in the nine-child dragon steel. The male light beast roared, and the nine-child dragon steel that was pouncing towards him suddenly stopped in midair. Then, a heart-shaped light rushed out. Not only did it push the nine-child dragon steel 100 feet away, it even tore open space, revealing a gap. Boom! As the gap appeared, the male light beast went into a frenzy as if it didn't care about its life anymore. Its dragon horn flashed and pierced into the gap, and the scales on its body glowed with blood-red light. Countless amounts of righteous chi descended and pierced through the gap. A small portion of the male light beast's body peeked out from the dragon chi of the Nine Suns dragon steel. Unfortunately, before the male light beast could escape from the Nine Suns dragon steel, Demon Monarch Conchong raised her head and let out a dragon roar. She turned into a black thunderbolt and charged down. Lightning also appeared from her dragon horns and she attacked the light beast like lightning. Roar! The light beast was inside the nine-child dragon steel and couldn't dodge. Seeing Demon Monarch Gongchong's momentum, he had no choice but to let out an angry roar and charged forward. Hum! The thunderbolts from the two dragon horns collided. Indescribable arcs of light and arcs of lightning burst forth. Explosions rang out in the air several dozen li to the left. Spatial cracks of various sizes crisscrossed one after another. Even the 9 dragon steels were caught in this wave of air. They were tossing and turning extremely. 4 or 5 of them could no longer take shape. Where the light landed, they still turned into stone steels. Looking at the male light beast, his huge body was flipped over and the light around him suddenly dimmed. The dragon horn on his forehead was a bit crooked and strands of blood-colored light came from the root of the dragon horn. Opposite the light beast was Demon Monarch Harp Chong. The black dragon's body made a turn in midair and immediately stabilized. The dragon chi around its body flourished, and its dragon claws grabbed downwards. The 9 Suns dragon steel once again let out a rumbling sound, enveloping the light beast. This time, the 9-child dragon steel spun like crazy, and a demon formation emitting the aura of the dragon clan appeared. Seeing the demon monarch gradually shrink under demon monarch Gongchong's control, how could the female light beast not know demon monarch Gongchong's plan? She looked at the 9-child dragon steel with some difficulty, and then looked at the small light beast trapped by the spider silk. In just a moment, she made a decision. She raised her head to the sky and let out a long neigh. Then, the scales all over her body began to emit wisps of fire. Those wisps of fire were also transparent like colored glass. She raised her leg again, and under her hooves, the clouds of thousands of golden pearls suddenly converged into her body. Vortexes were formed in the air, and the outline of a tunnel that was hundreds of feet wide was instantly revealed. This outline also had wisps of fire emitting from it. Ha! Before the female light beast stepped into the outline of the tunnel, the Chilan Spider King laughed loudly. Is this the legendary reenactment? Last time, you relied on this technique to escape from this king. After 200 years, will this king still let you succeed? Following the Chilan Spider King's laughter, the 8 spider legs on both sides of its huge spider body flashed and extended into the void. Immediately after, on the left side of the outline of the tunnel, the 8 spider legs revealed sharp spikes. It was precisely the wisps of fire that landed on the outline. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. A series of sounds rang out. The spikes that pierced the wisps of fire wildly surged with demonic aura. When the demonic aura crashed into the wisps of fire, there was a loud explosion. The entire outline of the space gradually collapsed and the collapse of the space spread into the tunnel. "Io, not good. This king actually fell into your trap." The Chilean Spider King, who was originally confident of victory, suddenly let out a low roar and flew up into the sky. Unfortunately, before he could fly up, the space below him suddenly tore apart. The explosion of light and demonic aura collided through the void and crashed into the Chilean Spider King. The impact of this explosion was extremely strong. Not only did it cause the Chilean Spider King's abdomen to collapse, it also blew away the wisps of silk that were like flowing water. Naturally, the wisps on the little light beast's body were also blown away. "Go!" The female light beast let out a low roar and landed below the little light beast. As she shouted, the light around her body shone brightly and her body was about to fly into the distance. Unfortunately, she had only flown a few hundred feet when a brightly colored spike strangely appeared in the void in front of her head and pierced between her eyebrows. The spike was surrounded by demonic aura and even had a trace of netherworld aura. Damn it! The female light beast was clearly caught off guard. Her body quickly dodged and the spike pierced through the light around her body, leaving a deep wound on her forehead. Haha! The Chilean Spider King laughed loudly and said, "Do you think you're the only one who's scheming? With this king here, how can you escape this time? Go!" Seeing the Chilean Spider King break through the air again and the web in the air came down like a huge net, the female light beast gritted her teeth and shook her back, causing the little light beast to fall into the air. Then, she lifted her leg and kicked. So, the little light beast immediately broke through the air like a shooting star. The female light beast turned around and blocked the Chilean Spider King's head. The Chilean Spider King was stunned and then laughed coldly. "What a brainless light beast. You've already fallen into this king's hands. Do you think your child can escape? Didn't you see the demons in the water wave demon realm? They've already chased over." The female light beast was shocked and released her Yuan Shen. As expected, how could Hawk Owl and Catfish let go of such a good opportunity to claim credit? They had already moved their bodies and chased over. The other demons in the distance who were lucky enough to survive also shouted and flew over. Just as the female light beast was distracted, a similarly colorful spike appeared from under her body. With lightning speed, it pierced through the light beast's light and pierced deep into her abdomen. The female light beast screamed in pain. Damn it! While the two Radiance beasts were being suppressed by their mortal enemies, and the little Radiance beast was being chased by demons, the family of three was in dire straits. 100 miles away from the battlefield, a ray of light flashed. Countless inscriptions surged within the light, and when the inscriptions shattered, a beautiful female cultivator emerged from the light. It was none other than Princess Baihua, who was as beautiful as a flower. Princess Hundred Flowers was no longer as frail as she had been before. She raised her hand, and true energy surged out. Just as she was about to raise her hand, a boundless divine will swept out from the distance, covering the entire water region in the blink of an eye. Princess Baihua's expression changed slightly. She hurriedly turned her head, but the clear light in her eyes had yet to be released. Rumble! From where the divine sense came, there was the sound of thunder. The thunder was faster than White Horse fleeting time. Just as the sound was heard, a fist several hundred feet in size flashed with lightning and came through the air. Boom! With a loud sound, it hit the 9-child dragon steel. This method of killing the dragon steel was extremely strange. Whoosh! The 9-child dragon steel couldn't withstand the huge force of the fist and exploded, turning into 9 dim stone steels that scattered in the air. Ah! Demon King Conchong was shocked and looked at the huge fist in disbelief. Fear appeared in his eyes. Then, the fist didn't seem to have any intention of retracting. It swayed and smashed towards Demon King Conchong. Demon King Conchong's body swayed and he shouted, Who is this Xenia? This lowly one is the descendant of the demon race's second sacred mystic armor Pentaceratops. Unfortunately, before he could finish speaking, the fist had already landed. Amidst the strong wind, Demon Monarch Harpet's demon body was imprisoned. Demon Monarch Harpet's figure swayed rapidly as the dragon chi around him surged like a spring. He wanted to use some means to resist. However, before he could do anything, the fist's wind was extremely fierce. The fist's momentum could tear the void apart. Even though he tried his best to block the fist with his dragon tail, his body was still smashed down by the fist. Not only were the scales on Demon Monarch Conchong's body cracked, even her draconic chi was nearly scattered. Her figure smashed a deep hole in the water on the ground. You're tuning in to the Xueqi's Martial Arts Saga YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.